Hello and welcome to episode 153 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the karateist, Alessandro Belsi. Say hello, Bel.
You're listening to Flix and a Six, the number 19 movie review podcast in the People's Republic of China.
That's right! On this week's episode, we say goodbye to Lord Vader, Dark Fat returns, and a reading, along with other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, Boogie Nights. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
I totally forgot about the Vader thing, even though that was only a couple of days ago, and we discussed it, but I never actually added it to the thing. Also, when we were talking about things to discuss, like news nuggets, and I was like, wow, it's really weird how light I am on all of this. Totally forgot, probably because it was almost a week ago. No, it was a week ago, because I had it in my intro since a week ago when I thought we were still going to be recording a week ago, that we were number 19 in movie review podcasts in China, which I still don't...
That's right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we figured out how, but the timing of it is very confusing. It's probably
very
because
odd.
we did The Wandering Earth several months ago, but
it's possible.
What a random thing.
It ramped up. It ramped up since then.
Thank you to our listeners in China, I guess. I hope you enjoy our show. I wouldn't say that we've ever done this show as a particularly for or against anything Chinese in any way, shape, or form. I don't think we've ever really rendered much of an opinion on China as a concept, as a country, as a people.
China as a concept?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, when you boil it down, we're all concepts, right? So,
sure. That's deep.
But I hope you guys are enjoying the show, I guess.
Yeah, agreed. Cheers, China.
Hey, listen, write in. We have Twitter, we have email. You're going to have to write in English because neither of us speaks Chinese, nor for sure.
I could find a way to translate it. Flixandasix at thespintune.com. But I would assume that if you're listening to us...
You probably understand English, would be my guess, because we don't speak Chinese.
I would assume. That's right. Do we?
Not to my knowledge.
I don't know what happens on some of those episodes where we go a few more beers in.
Well, there's that one specific episode that we don't talk about, that one clip in which I fell asleep. I mean, in which I definitely didn't fall asleep mid-sentence.
That's right. Blue?
Blue? I don't know what I'm saying. So anyway, we're drinking Einstock Wee Heavy. That's it. Just Icelandic Wee Heavy. From Einstein.
Icelandic Wee Heavy.
There's a bunch of Icelandic words on here that I don't know how to pronounce. I think we did that when we did the white ale a few months ago, whenever that was exactly. This is a Scottish ale brewed with angelica root and smoked Icelandic barley. That sounds exciting.
It does. I'm pretty excited about this.
I know I've had the white several times before. There's another one I had.
W-H-I-T.
There's another one I had. I don't know if it was a porter or a brown ale or something like that, or a stout. I had one other of their beers when the first time I had them. There was 2 beers total that day. It was at a craft beer festival. I don't think it was this one, although the label was a similar color, I think. I'm not 100% sure. So let's experience this together. I'll just pretend it's the first time I've never had it, or I've had it in case I had it that one time.
This has a lovely froth.
A lovely froth?
That sticks to the glass.
My beer didn't have a noteworthy head, I don't believe.
No, it doesn't have a head. It has a retention of the froth on the glass.
Okay. I mean, those two things are kind of interchangeably said. I'm going to read off the back of this bottle quick, and then I think there's some stuff on this box as well. So, Viking history in Scotland goes back more than 1,000 years. Even our brewmaster studied in Edinburgh, where he carefully surveyed the local craft. Now he returned with an Icelandic Scotch ale, brewed with locally farmed smoked barley and spiced with native Icelandic angelica, a fabled herb ancient Vikings use as currency. Surrender your taste buds. They have no choice but to be conquered.
Oh dear.
Now I'm going to exclaim 3 words in Icelandic that I don't know what they mean, so hopefully I don't offend anyone. Drektu, Sigradu, Endertaktu.
That's right.
I'm guessing those are some sort of fighting words.
That old classic saying.
I'm guessing those are some sort of fighting words. I don't know what they mean. If we have any Icelandic listeners, I know we're not number 19 in Iceland, but if we have any Icelandic listeners, please let us know what it means.
But goals, by the way.
Well, like me and Anthony said, we're going to have an international takeover before conquering the U.S., I suppose.
That's right.
We're going to tour the world and get as many international listeners as possible.
It's really securing our future.
On this box, it says, Oh no, this is the same thing. Never mind. Except it doesn't have the cool fight. It doesn't have the cool fighting words at the end of it, which is a little weird.
Oh, that's a shame.
So okay, this makes more sense though, because I said I'm not 100% sure what the wee heavy is. It's a Scotch ale. I've had those like once or twice. The ones I've had I liked.
Yeah, same.
It's kind of a unique style. It's the type of thing I'd probably want to make.
I really want to get in on this smoked Icelandic barley.
Yeah? You want to dabble?
Cheers.
You want to dabble?
I want to dabble.
Cheers. It smells delightful.
Oh.
Yes, this does taste like I recall a Scotch ale tasting. It's been a while. I think I had one from...
Ooh.
Was it Founders? Does Founders have a Scotch ale?
I don't know. Maybe. I think that actually might have been the one that I had, if that's the case.
I
know that I had a Scotch ale at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant.
Okay, well, I definitely wasn't there for that. I had a Scotch ale, I want to say 2 years ago. I got a growler of it. I like to get a growler for football Sundays. I share with my brother and my dad. We watch the football games together. I had one a couple years ago, and it was by far the maltiest beer I've ever had. And it was so good. It's the only thing like that I've ever had before. I definitely drank too much of it over that course of that day because I got a gallon of it. It's probably not the best beer for doing that amount of volume of drinking, but it was so damn good. It was worth it despite the fact that I hated myself.
Sure.
And that one was pretty strong.
This is really good. It has maybe this is what maybe is it malty? Yes. That syrupy
it's sweet. Just say it. It's sweet.
Thing that's left on my palate afterwards though, is that from the malt?
Yes.
It's very tasty.
It's a sweet beer, but it's not sickly.
Yeah. That's why I think I'm a little bit lost here. It's odd. It doesn't have all the characteristics of whatever that flavor is.
So it's incredibly malt forward, which is not something that most beers are. I guess there are some Belgian triple type beers that are, but that's a very different flavor than this.
Right.
It does kind of have a little bit of residual bitterness on the palate afterwards, but typically it's hard to achieve this style of beer with a lot of hoppiness, which is, because everyone knows the expression hop forward, or anyone who knows beer, right? You don't hear super malt forward too often, and sometimes it can be harder to identify and discuss unless you have one that's this, there's a threshold that you have to really cross to be oh, okay, now I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be in that boat where I'm getting this something reminiscent of molasses. Yeah,
there is kind of that sort of effect. So by the way, this is 8% alcohol by volume.
Okay.
The one I'm thinking of it was I think 6.5%, which is okay. Let me see if it was. I think it was Founders. It was a really good beer. I only had it that one time.
I'm a fan of this. I have no. Oh, what would you? How many thuckles would you give this guy? Because I really don't know.
Oh, this has got to be easily
2 thuckles.
I would say easily 2 to 3 thuckles.
2 to 3. I'll go 2 thuckles. Because it's honestly this might be one of the ones that gets a third as we go further on into the show, where I'm not quite sure where I land on certain parts of it. But I do like it. I also will say that lately I've been watching Outlander, and
Dominic and Emma
having the wee heavy made me really excited because they say we a lot, and it makes me happy. And I start talking like them.
I always think of
every time the show ends.
I always think of Cloud Atlas when the little old Scottish guy, I know. They stand up when he stands up in the pub, and we're in need of a wee bit of assistance. And he gives that whole big speech.
That's so good.
I'm pretty sure it was
nice.
Founders, this beer. I just looked it up. It's the Dirty Bastard Scotch Ale. That one says dark ruby in color and brewed with 7 varieties of imported malts. Complex in finish with hints of smoke and peat paired with a malty richness and a right hook of hop power to give it the bad attitude that a beer named Dirty Bastard has to live up to. Ain't for the wee lads. Wow, what is it with wee and these? I guess that really must be a Scottish thing.
Yeah, little.
Yeah, no, I understand what it means. I'm just what was with that specifically popping up in both of these. I think richness is the right word to describe it, right? The multi richness.
That's fair.
It's such a thick, sweet flavor, but again, not in a runaway. This is just pure sugar, like eating fucking like scooping cane sugar out of like a bowl and eating it type of thing.
No, this is rich is a good adjective for it. It's about as rich as the dinner that I made tonight, which was delicious.
Oh wow, that was totally unanticipated. I picked it because it was a heavy dark beer. It's a Icelandic beer, and it was snowing a little bit today, so I figured it was the perfect one to ease us into the winter.
So I made herb mashed turnips.
Oh, okay.
With pan-seared bavette steaks. And then I made a mushroom wine sauce reduction and put it on top. And oh boy, was it tasty. But this would have been fantastic right next to it.
We had... We? Not that sort of way. We with one E.
Oh, okay.
We with one E had orecchiette with sausage and sun-dried tomatoes, baby kale, and a white wine sauce.
Nice. That's
so both pretty hearty, rich meals.
Yeah. Once you do that, you put butter in it at the end and mix it up because it adds this. It creams up with the wine sauce and it puts a nice coating on the pasta. If you ever done that, it's really good. So
yeah, no, we had like the big family dinner, and my parents are on a diet, so I don't believe there was butter in it, and so the sauce was a little bit thinner than that. I have had it that way though.
Yes, it's quite nice.
For sure there was crushed red pepper flakes in there too, because you gotta have a little bit of spice in that meal.
They've gotta be there. I don't know what you're doing if you don't have them. Hey, before we move on from this beer, because of the Viking on the bottle, I have to give you an update on Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Oh, nice! I thought you were going to talk about how long my hair and beard was.
That's it. You'll like this. I was playing the game, and I used to get overwhelmed, but I've been like with a big game like this, and like I don't even know what to do. I feel like I'm doing it wrong because I feel like I have to like play it in a certain order.
You have to do it all.
I've been surrendering to the game and putting it on for like an hour and just kind of doing whatever comes to mind while I'm there.
And
whether
somehow
that's continue the main mission.
That dice game.
Yeah, exactly. No, so it's mostly it turns into me going, I wonder what's on top of that mountain, and I just climb a mountain, and I get to the top, nothing's there, and then I'm done for the evening. But this time I climbed the mountain.
Hey, here's a tip:
and
stop climbing mountains.
No. This is, trust me. After this story, I want to climb all the mountains. All right. This is the abbreviated version. There'll be a longer one on Game Bites, which you can check out probably in the next 4 weeks. I don't know which one it'll be on, but
super helpful tease.
Yeah, we'll just listen to the show. You know, that's how you get to number 19.
If you want to know.
So I climbed this mountain, and it's peaceful, and there's this character standing like way in the distance, and my character notes it, and she goes, "There's somebody over there. I wonder what he's doing." And I make my way over to them, and he's kind of muttering to himself, and I go talk to him, and he's got like all of these crates around him, and he goes, "Oh, my children won't bury my belongings with me when I die, so I won't be able to take them to the next life. The only way that I could do so is to offer them up to the gods now, so that they'll be there when I arrive." And she goes, "Is that how it works?" and he was like, "Of course." And he's like, "Would you mind helping me?" And I was like, "Well, this is literally what I just said that I'm going to do, is just relax and go with the flow of the game." So I was like, "Sure, I'll help." And I just start picking up boxes, and it's very satisfying. And I'm throwing them off a cliff, like a steep cliff, throwing them way off. And with every other box, he's explaining what was in it, and like there's like these little stories that go along with it. I was like, and then I hit the last box, and I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of bummed this is over." And we go to talk to him, and she goes, "Well, that's it." And he goes, "That was only the offering." He's like, "It was to announce my arrival for Asgard." And he runs and dives off the cliff, and on his way down goes, "Thank you." And I went, "What just happened?"
Sorry, I assumed that he was going to ask you to kill him.
So I thought so too, or something along those lines. But no, he just needed help throwing the boxes, and then he hurled himself off the cliff.
Or I assumed he was going to attack you, because he has to have a worthy death, and you are a worthy adversary who can put him in the ground in an honorable fashion.
Funny you should say that. Came across another side mission where that was the case, but it was like against these soldiers that are like really good soldiers, and I didn't realize that the event had started, and I took an axe to the face, and it was over.
all of that sounds much more Viking to me. Like, yeah, sure, like offering to the gods, and we're gonna meet them in this life or whatever. But like, no, like I will either slay you or you will slay me, and one of us will be toasting in Asgard because we're worthy like warriors. Like, that's got to happen at some point, probably more than once.
Well, the little cherry on top of this ridiculous Sunday that I had was I climbed down the mountain because that's where I was actually needing to go after I climbed to the top. I was climbing down the other side of it. And I get to the bottom, and I see all these broken up things that I've thrown, and a body.
Well, I was hoping some of those things survived the fall, and you were going to be able to like claim them and either sell them or use them.
That would have been cool. That would have been cool. But I was like, is that what these are? Like, I've never really gotten into an Assassin's Creed game before. I was like, is this what these games are?
I only played the first one, and I do not recall anything like that.
But I'm having a good time with it. Anyway, three thuckles. I'm going to go 3 thuckles.
Seems right.
We've reached it. We've reached an accord. You want to go into some news and nuggets?
Yeah, let's do it.
We must say goodbye to Lord Vader.
Well, one of them, anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true. The Tower Invader, David Prowse, has passed, and
by the way, Super Jack is a younger man.
Oh yeah. He has like a Schwarzenegger-esque background. I feel like just pumping iron.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Like, I mean, obviously you can tell he's a large dude. I never saw him like outside of the suit, really. Like, or like sometimes I see like a kind of a picture of him in bust, like seated, and it's like, okay, like he's fairly a large guy, but most of the pictures I saw of him was older. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize how jacked he was until I saw like when he died, there was pictures of him as like a strong man, like years before he was Vader. I was like, oh,
right,
wow, yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I learned a lot about him watching that documentary. I think I had mentioned it like a while back on the show, but it was on Netflix at the time. I assume that you could probably still get it there. It's called I'm Your Father, and it was about him playing Vader and kind of getting snubbed in the last moments of the movie where it's not his face when the mask is taken off.
Well, he got snubbed multiple times, right? Because he also voiced all the original principal photography, and then they were like, this isn't working for us, and they brought in James Earl Jones. So like that's right. Getting snubbed is kind of his whole like story.
And there's it's just an interesting tale, and it's well worth the watch. And there's like some interesting animosity between him and Lucas, and they don't really get to the bottom of it because Lucas declines to comment.
Also, it sounds like both of them had legitimate gripes.
It does, yeah.
Because it seems like from what I can tell, and I didn't get to watch it, but I've read bits of it and I've heard bits of it from you. I mean, for him, I can understand feeling a little bit like upset, like, hey, like, am I Vader or not? You know what I mean? Like, you just want me to like walk around like an idiot, you know, in this suit. Like, I don't get to be Vader, and then also the ultimate slap in the face at the end, where it's like, okay, fine, the payoff in the end's got to be it's me, right? Nope, it's now a third person. And also, there's that fourth and fifth person who does the fight scenes.
Yeah,
But also, it's Lucas, it sounds like he's like, hey, like he's in charge, and you're being a prick on set, and in every little thing that we're doing, making my job impossible because you're constantly undermining me. So, like, fuck you. Like, I can understand both of them being pissed at each other.
Sure, I will say that I definitely took that Netflix special. Well, I don't know if it was made for Netflix or not, but I took it with a grain of salt because it did seem that it was portrayed more like in a kind of one-sided manner, where it didn't really lean into like the why of like for him, but more hinting at just like other things that were going on. I will say what's cool about it is the whole concept is a re-edit of that final scene with him in it, which is really cool. But they can't show it to you on account of licensing. But it was a really interesting watch, and I was very captivated by it. I think it's worth the time, especially now that he's passed. It'd be a nice way to remember him by. I was like, oh, it's one of those things, right? Like, it's just like childhood person that like I've only became really aware of him like within the past few years, like looking deeper into some of this stuff, and then to have him pass away was just it's a bummer. He's an older guy, but it was it's kind of it's so weird that whole thing that happened to him and not being on the screen. It's an odd story. It's just a very strange tale.
Yeah, and also it's kind of, you tend to expect it too. When guys are that large, they tend not to live super long lives. Unfortunately,
Sure.
There's a lot of health complications that come along with that.
Of course, yeah. But anyway, rest in peace, one of Darth Vader's.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
When he moves on to the other life, does he get to be Hayden Christensen, or that was in poor taste. That was too soon.
Oh boy, that was that's a thing that they did.
Honestly, I'm okay with it because it made for the truly laugh out loud funny joke at the end of not something Dark Side. What was the It's a Trap? Was that that was the one? Something
It's a Trap, the second one?
Oh, I thought something Dark Side was the second one.
You might be right.
But anyway, at the end when they're doing all of that, and first of all they have Stewie, who was Vader, obviously, in the Family Guy trilogy, with the obviously broken neck. And he goes, "What the hell, man? I was going to make it." And then at the end, they just pop up, "And I'm Hayden Christensen."
Yeah. I gotta rewatch those. They were great. I have the DVD collection that looks just like the original VHS collection, like with the shiny box.
But Stewie is Vader.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, because I had the '97 release VHS set with the Vader face. I think even all of them actually since then had done that, didn't they? There was the silver one, which is the VHS '97 one. Then there was a gold one that was either DVD or Blu-ray.
No, so the silver and gold were widescreen and full screen.
That might have been it ultimately, but in the '97 one was silver and it was VHS. I don't think the widescreen full screen was a debate at that point.
No, on VHS.
Really?
Yes.
The widescreen was a thing with VHS?
It was.
I thought that didn't pop up until flat screens and DVDs.
No, it's a thing.
I guess there was big screen
was,
TVs that technically were widescreen, but still.
That's those big screen projection, like quote unquote, like they had like the big bulb on the back.
Yeah,
those
the
were
TVs
widescreen, so you can get. That's right. I remember because I having to pick the appropriate one.
Oh god!
But
there were so many of those situations growing up, from like let's call it 2002 on, where we would get into that fight with my dad all the time whenever we would buy like a DVD or whatever, and it's like stop buying the widescreen because we didn't have a widescreen TV at that point, and so we had to watch the shitty widescreen on the full screen TV.
Yeah.
Then ultimately the joke would be on us because we would get a good TV, and now we were watching full screen DVDs on a widescreen television, and it's like,
no,
God damn it.
The joke is that it might be hard unless you're like were an avid movie watcher, which you were for them. Like I don't know, you're probably like close to my level at that point of watching movies, even when I was younger, like throwing them on all the time. But when you're watching,
because I was a big movie person before I didn't really get into TV until like late in high school, and now obviously TV is kind of outstripped movies for me. Well, not during football season, and also when I'm working 60 hours a week, but like generally speaking, for the last decade has been like dominated more by TV than movies. As much as I love movies, obviously.
But I would watch the same because I loved rewatching movies. I would finding things that I hadn't seen before. And I had all of my movies back in the day, obviously, were full screen. Even when DVDs came out, I started with full screen DVDs because I was like in this mode of like, I want to see the whole screen filled with my movie. Joke being on me, when a movie that I would watch over and over again, when I finally saw it for the first time in the letterbox and was like, there is so much more to this scene. This is terrible. Like literally so much gets cut off that is insane.
Which actually reminded me of another stupid Family Guy joke that's a total one-off, where they were watching a movie. You know, it's a lot of episodes that start with them watching a movie or a TV show, and like that tees off a joke that sets them on a path that's something totally different. And so they're watching, and now presenting. I think it was Lawrence of Arabia in extra widescreen letterbox, and they show it on the screen, and it's literally like 1 millimeter thick across the the whole screen. Like you can't. It's just like a line of color.
I've seen this. I don't know if it was a clip or the episode, but yes.
And they're like, oh wow, and so who's that handsome lady over there? And Brian goes, that's Sir Laurence Olivier.
Oh man, that's so silly. That's so funny. I've also got a whole bunch, a boatload of DVDs that are double-sided.
Oh, nice.
Where it's full screen, widescreen.
Yeah,
actually,
I got some of those kicking back behind me over here.
Yeah, a bunch of the Kevin Smith ones I think I have are like that. Boondock Saints. Nice. Basically, movies that came out pre-2000. Oh, there was an option.
Sure, I have a full screen Boondock Saints DVD back here somewhere.
Fantastic.
Actually, I have to.
Fantastic.
It's definitely over here somewhere where I can't reach. Where are you?
Don't fall.
You're somewhere over there. I see Blazing Saddles. I see Batman. It's got to be somewhere near there.
Amazing. Moving on.
Look of Eli.
I came across this article which I thought was odd and just it was a strange time for it to come up. It was about Dark Fat, so I obviously had to bring it up.
Yeah, there was too much going on during the intro, but I definitely wanted to get back to how is Dark Fat coming back at this stage in the game?
So the headline was a question of whether or not Terminator Dark Fat performed poorly because of franchise fatigue. And that was a notion made by Mackenzie Davis on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. And that being that it's like the 6th movie in the franchise, thinking that it's
and the last,
franchise
4
fatigue.
Sucked.
And I would argue that no. It's not. That's not the reason that it didn't perform well. The reason that it didn't perform well is the ones that came before it were trash, so you alienated a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And this one
was better than
basically
those,
was way better than those, but made a classic movie moot. And
did it?
Kind of ruins the story a bit.
Am I misremembering the Well, this is the point with any movie that involves time travel becoming a series. Because you already are on thin enough ice with just a movie involving time travel, because what are the rules?
Right.
But every time you then extend that on, you keep overwriting what's going on. So you threaten to make it all moot. It's honestly even kind of a problem with like Endgame. Like when you set up a situation where you're going to have time travel and we're doing a 2-part story about this. The second half, and we knew that going in, which helps soften the blow a little bit, but you can appreciate each movie for its own. You can appreciate the whole story told across the 2 and what it's telling across the whole series of movies and all that. But in the end, Endgame does kind of undermine a lot of the weight of the storytelling of what came before it,
sure.
Which is such a dangerous thing to do. You have to nail it so perfectly with the story and character beats, because the aftermath of that is always something that's going to leave tenuous as to why it all matters. And so when you have a whole series of movies that, this is just 2 movies, right, in a tapestry of whatever 20-something movies that there is, right? And obviously they're the biggest, most important of them, but still they're just single entries in that whole huge catalog. This whole series is that. So every time you expand it, you are threatening to ruin everything that it's built on. You're building your house on sand. So Terminator 1, fine. Terminator 2, okay. Each time you iterate again, you're making it even more fraught with all of that bullshit. That it's like, at what point is this productive anymore? And I think we realized that it was no longer productive past 2. Part of that's due to poor writing, poor acting, whatever. 3, 4, and 5 all largely suck. Not to say that there isn't maybe a shred of goodness in any of them, but
sure.
This one was by far the best since 2, but it still doesn't hold a candle to 2.
Absolutely.
And because it's not nearly as good, like you said, it threatens to ruin 2. I don't think she's wholly wrong when she says that fatigue, not franchise fatigue, it's fatigue of this specific franchise.
Yeah, at the end of the day, yes, I agree with what you're saying. The problem for me, though, is that Terminator 2 is an incredible film.
Yes.
Right? And to follow that up poorly, that was a mistake, and then write those off and add a third entry in the movie in the franchise that is now number 3, but not called number 3 because there is a T3.
Yes.
Regardless, get that out of the way. Ignoring the fact that they made 2 crappy movies, and put this one in. And what my main concern is, and my main issue is, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. If you go back and listen, I enjoyed the movie. I had fun with it. I thought they did a good job of almost recapturing that feeling. And awesome work by everybody there. In this case, in the case of this movie, what was against them was the fact that they actually had it wrapped up with a really nice bow on it by the end of 2. Like, they did a great job of making a second movie in this time travel situation, nailing it, sticking the landing tremendously. Like, you need to walk away. Like, it's one of those things that you can't do it better. Like, it's done. And honestly, they came back and they did this. And what they did in this third movie, and spoilers for the next minute for Dark Fat, if you want to just hit the skip forward button for a second, starting now, John dies in the first couple of seconds of the movie. Like, that's what I mean by undoing all of the work of the previous one.
John.
Yeah. yes. It's like it's moments later. It's like they've left, they got somewhere, they thought they were safe, they weren't. And then the movie starts. It's like that's how they paved their way to create space for this movie. And it was an odd thing to do. And I understand that maybe the reason to do it was, we tried doing a little bit older John in 3 and it didn't work. And it's like, maybe take that note and just leave.
I'm conflicted on this whole thing because it was a great way to start that movie off, right?
It was shock for sure.
The problem is it does ruin that other movie.
Right. It definitely... When it starts, I'm pretty sure the only reaction that audience members had were, "Oh, we're doing this."
Yeah. Which, I have to imagine everyone in the moment is like, "Oh shit," and that's a largely positive reaction, right? And then it's like the benefit of hindsight once you calm down the adrenaline, and it's like, "Oh, this,"
right.
But I don't know how they even justify having a movie without doing it. But then again, the movie, having this movie period is kind of unjustifiable. It is the purest form of a cash grab, which, fine, make your money. I get it, and that's all good and well. But you got to give us a reason to care if you want to make all the money that you plan on making. And obviously they didn't, and it's because we didn't care, and it's because of how bad 3, 4, and 5 were. The thing is, as much as I agree, artistically, I wish they would have just left it be at 2. I get why financially they didn't. But if that's the case, don't wait 8 years. Don't bring back none of the primary writers and directors and only one of the actors. And honestly, there's a kernel of an interesting idea in that movie. Horrible execution. If we're going to get down to why does John Connor matter so much? Oh, it's because adult John Connor is going to both literally and metaphorically repopulate and save the human population. Great. Let's get to how that story tips off, because then you can honestly lead to what salvation is. Those two stories actually are compelling, or they can be. There's an interesting what comes next? The execution on both of them was really horrendous. And then Genesis just does this whole other thing that makes it would have been better as a totally standalone movie, because it just doesn't fit with, at least 3 and Salvation actually follow the story. Not well, but they feel like they're all being told as part of the same story, whereas Genesis feels like it's this whole weird alternate universe reimagining thing where it's it's one of those spin-off TV shows where it's in the same universe as, but not chronologically, but then
it's a parallel universe.
Yeah, but we're all using all the same characters and everything. So
I want to curious how you feel about this. There's no way to know. There's no right answer here. There's no way to actually know this. But if you were to take, this is my how I feel this would play out. If you were to omit the other movies, if this third movie, if Dark Fat came out as Terminator 3 shortly after 2, I think it might have been even more poorly received because of what it does to the storyline. Like, it's far better than the other two, but if you would have followed up directly after when I say the other two, I mean the subsequent movies that came after 2. If you would have followed it up directly after 2, I feel like it might have been even more frustrating.
Do you know what this movie would have been? If you take the baggage out of all those things, and it's impossible because I want to give you an honest answer, and I realize I literally cannot. But what it immediately brought to mind was something. So I'm just going to pitch it your way and see how you feel about it.
Oh boy!
Without the baggage of 3, 4, and 5, they didn't exist, right? This movie comes out, let's say, 4 years after T2, right? And we do this movie. This movie is The Last Jedi. Because what it does is it takes the whole story and the convention that they set up and flips it on its head, and it becomes it's the purpose of The Last Jedi was, right? We're giving the power back to the people. It's no longer about bloodlines; it's about people, and we realize that our hero is flawed and all that. Same thing. John Connor matters. This and that. Nope. Sorry, wrong. John Connor is an idea. And it's he sparks, he's the spark that lights the flame that fuels the rebellion and all that. That's what he is, right? He becomes a symbol, and the people rise up in service of saving humanity from the machines. Like, that's what it is, right? It's having the willpower to fight for what's right against impossible odds and defending. And so does John actually matter, or does anyone like John, anyone who would be willing to stand and fight? And so we have to protect that person no matter who it is.
Okay, there's two major problems with this. The first one...
It's not perfect, but it's pretty close.
I understand, yeah. I kind of get what you're saying. The first problem with this is that the reason that Terminator works very early on in the first 2 movies is because it is a tightly knit story. The expanded universe of the Terminator is not interesting. It's just not an interesting thing.
Well, it's interesting as an idea, oh wow, that would be cool, but it just doesn't work upon rigorous investigation.
But on the contrary, though, with Star Wars, the expanded universe is, in my opinion, more interesting.
Yeah, well, it's because it doesn't always have to. As much as the sequel trilogy tried to, it doesn't have to just keep coming back to this one central story, and that's what Terminator always has to do. Right. It always has to come down to world ends, humans, machines.
So, that being
Star
said,
Wars Expanded Universe can be about Mandalorians, or it can be about some other random species of aliens. It can be about clones. It can be about Jedi. It can be about Dark Jedi. It can be about.
But with 8 coming so many years later with the intention of refreshing and opening up, it seemed 8 basically was opening the doors for the universe to blow up on film. Instead, they had to. They thought that it made sense to recalibrate and silo it again in 9. However, what I'm saying is that universe is exciting. So opening it up after all this time makes sense. Let's open the doors and show you where all these where it could go. You're doing the same. You're making the same move with a story that doesn't have an interesting external universe, and that's why.
Sure, I'm not saying it wouldn't be doomed to fail. I'm just saying that it would have been met largely the same. There would be people who would like the subversion of the medium and of the storyline and what we hold as the core principles, and whether those core principles actually matter. Does John Connor is the most important person in the world matter? No, not super interesting. Is the idea of fighting against insurmountable odds on the principle matter? Yes, good, great. Let's talk about that. And there would be people who'd hate it because, but in the last one you said John is the one.
What if
that? It's the same debate that Episode 8 was. Luke's the hero. Not really. He's a hero, but what's actually interesting is that anyone can be the hero, and it's about fighting for what matters, and that can take any sort. Fighting for what matters is such a big, open-ended, vague thing that can be applied in any way, shape, or form, billions of ways iterated over and over again, and that's why it's a compelling story.
Okay, how about this? This little one extra curveball in here, right? The opening scene of Dark Fat as a post-credit scene to 2.
So now we're getting now we're getting into like Dawn of the Dead when they're on the boat. Like,
but could you imagine? You watch Terminator 2 and you're like, oh my god, what a wild ride! And you're just sitting in there at the end, letting the credits roll, listening to the just basking in the music, which is fantastic. And then all of a sudden, cut to them on the beach. Dun, 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 dun. Bang, bang, bang. Fade to black. What? That was a hell of an opening.
Too trippy.
Yeah. Also, like in the 90s, could you imagine that? That's like we're way too early for post-credit scenes.
Way too early for post-credit scenes, and too late for that like ultra dark dystopic like ending. Like that's like a straight up like a 70s like sci-fi thriller. Like,
oh my god! But bring my two ideas together, right? Marry them in this perfect. Oh, this would be fantastic. You do that, right? This post-credit scene, kill John off. Third movie, designated runtime 2 hours and 15 minutes. It starts, a nuke goes off. Fade to black for the next 2 hours and 14 minutes.
We keep coming back
because there's no credits. It's just the special effects guy. One. It just rolls really quick.
We keep coming back to this idea.
Oh, man. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to do it. You heard it here first, though. Okay? I want credit when this happens. Oh, man. Anyway. You got stuff? You got a nugget?
I have stuff, if that's the way we're doing this. Let's.
You got things to say?
Yeah. God, I hope so. We're in the midst of a podcast.
We're in the throes of 1 week off. It's really just when we shine the most. I think we should just do this every other week.
Yeah, but the thing is, usually I bring way too many news and nuggets, and for some reason I blanked on all of it, and I have like 1.5, and one of them I found right before we started, and I'm not even entirely sure what I'm getting into with that one. So.
you read it out loud, and you're like, oh, I didn't want to.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to piss you off, but so do you want to do the reading, or do you want to do the...
Wait, what's going to make me angry? The news or the reading? I guess make me angry first, and then we'll have something to talk about with the news after.
I always thought when someone says, I got good news and bad news, you always start with the bad news and then get...
Yeah.
Because there's a chance the good news outweighs.
Yeah. What if the good news is just so much worse from my perspective and you didn't realize it?
Well, I mean, even the news is a bit of a good news, bad news.
Oh, boy.
But again, I think that the good news outweighs.
Got it.
Okay.
Sure.
So let's do a reading. Let's just get it out here. I've only read the headline of this story. It's on The Ringer. I have been somewhat familiarized with the subject matter of this article over the past week or so. I have not discussed it with Anthony. I've seen oblique references to it. I had no idea this was happening in the world, except I started seeing snippets on Twitter and like paragraphs and portions pulled from a work of fiction. And this is an article about how Ready Player 2 is a copy of a copy.
Oh, no, I'm reading it. Don't say anything. Do I want to know anything about... Because you don't know where this article goes. Don't read it out loud.
I don't know.
What if
they
you ruin
didn't put a
something
spoiler
for me?
thing on this, so... They do tag major spoiler things on The Ringer, so there's no spoiler tag on this.
Okay. All right. I will say, before you get started, I'm just curious if this is where we're going to land. You know how Ready Player One and other things of that time, we were talking about how, like, some of them like walk the line of being like too much nostalgia in your face. I know you have a problem with that.
Weaponized nostalgia.
Yeah, weaponized nostalgia.
The phrase I coined.
The first line of the book is the opening of the prologue, and it says cutscene, and then and then you read it, and there's 15 pages, and 14 of those pages are references. So it's. While I was reading it, I was like, I really want to like this, but I can't defend it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the spirit of what I'm about to read you.
Granted, I got very excited the way that the prologue closed. I didn't read any more since then.
So I was not aware that Ernest Cline was coming out with the second book. Obviously, you are because you have the book.
But I only became aware like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I hit pre-order, and then it was just like, this is available on your Kindle now. And I was like, thank you, science.
I feel like there should have been more hype for this, which is probably, it feels like this was like one of those movies that gets 4 days of promo, and then the movie comes out, and then you never hear about it again.
This is a 90s straight to VHS.
Yeah.
This is this is the return of Jafar.
The return of Jafar. Obviously, I levied my concerns about the movie when we were going to do it because of what I had heard about that book that I was not super enthused about. And it's funny, what I've seen in the time since then, because I ended up ultimately liking the movie. Not as much as you, but I liked it. But I could see where people's concerns were for it. And it's funny because the prevailing thing from people I saw who just tried to engage with both of them critically, not as I'm a fan of this work, whatever, was book, bad, borderline incomprehensible, movie, somehow takes all of that mess and makes it into something that's very eminently watchable. So from that perspective, let's dive into, I know you love the book, but that's not, there are many fans of the book, but that's not the consensus opinion, I don't believe. But I will read from this. We haven't done a good reading in a while, so since I don't really have any news or notes, let's do Ready Player 2 is a copy of a copy. This is by Zach Cram on The Ringer, subtitled or whatever thumbnail.
Wait a minute, before you get into this, is that the whole point? Is this a port?
I don't know, let's find out. Ernest Cline's...
It's a remaster?
Ernest Cline's follow to the nostalgia-infused Ready Player 1 is the embodiment of sequel creep. Ready Player 2 doesn't wait to accelerate into its plot. On page 6, the main character learns about a new piece of civilization-changing technology. On page 17, after one brief test run, he unleashes it on the world.
Okay, didn't get that far.
This is our first return to the fictional world dreamed up by Ernest Cline since the publication of Ready Player 1 9 years ago, or, for a considerable percentage of readers, since the movie adaptation in 2018. Released last Tuesday, the sequel novel replays all the hits from the story that made the New York Times bestseller list in Cline's career. But in the process, and in the rush to leap into a breakneck plot, the sequel loses the creativity and balance that made the fictional world worth mining. Like its predecessor, RP2 takes place in the 2040s and mostly in the Oasis, a virtual reality simulation game that dominates global entertainment. In the first book, spoilers for the first book, protagonist Wade Watts uses his obsessive knowledge of nostalgic pop culture to win a scavenger hunt organized by the Oasis' late creator, James Halliday, and becomes his successor. And in the sequel, Wade must use his obsessive knowledge of nostalgic pop culture to win another of Halliday's posthumous scavenger hunts. If those two sentences sound eerily similar, that's because they encapsulate the first problem with RP2. Its embodiment of sequel creep. RP2 is...
What are they... Did they explain sequel creep? What does that mean?
That is an expression I'm familiar with. I haven't heard it referenced in a while. It sounds like they're going to expand upon that in a minute.
Okay.
RP2 is basically RP1, but bigger and better and even more stakes. For instance, in the first book, Wade needs to collect 3 items to complete the quest. In the sequel, that number is 7. In the first book, the lives of Wade and a few others hang in the balance. In the sequel, that number is a lot higher. This sort of artificial inflation of stakes is a common issue with sequels, afflicting even the most lucrative and famous franchises. The Force Awakens asks, what if the Death Star were the size of a planet? And The Rise of Skywalker wonders, what if there were a bunch of ships with the power of the Death Star and a massive fleet? Because the crux of the story remains the same, a rerun of the same plot brings diminished returns. So there you go. Sequel creep is essentially the franchise embodiment of diminished returns, the fallacy of diminished returns.
Okay.
The broader RP2 plot, of course, is chiefly a vehicle for nostalgia. As in the first book, your mileage may vary with the multitudinous pop culture references, which are still present and still overwhelming. Wade wakes up every morning to a song about Marty McFly's clock radio. That is, if he's not woken by a call on Cameron Fry's bedside phone first. In an early passage that's already made the internet rounds, Wade enters vault number 42 from Hitchhiker's Guide using passcode 8675309.
That's right. This is what I was talking about when the first 14 pages are references. I was going through it. I was like, that's cute. All right, I can get behind this. I'm not going to be able to defend this against Al. That was my mileage while I was reading it.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I made 18 different references to Family Guy already in this episode. The point is, I try to do so for a purpose, not because I can.
Right.
You said a thing, I said a thing.
Yeah, that was like the intention at the onset was to make like how like I want to make this reference.
Yes, it's putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
And so on. This is the kind of story that describes with complete earnestness its climactic battle like so. Quote, it was like...
Wait a minute.
What?
It's going to describe the climactic battle of this book? If you're going to do that, I don't want you to read that to me.
I think this sentence will be sufficiently veiled from like what's actually happening. This is the kind of story that describes with complete earnestness this climactic battle like so. Quote, it was like Yoda versus Palpatine, Gandalf versus Saruman, and Neo versus Agent Smith all rolled into one epic clash of the Titans.
Ooh. That was a great sentence.
That myopic focus on references causes the second broad problem with RP2 storytelling. Ironically, given that Wade sometimes reflects on how his obsession with the Oasis prevents him from enjoying the real world, the story follows in its protagonist's footsteps. The plot frequently forgets about the real world, too. Although the first book was also centered in the Oasis, it maintained a deft balance by frequently leaving the VR arena to world build and show the progression of time. The most entertaining sequence, in my opinion, doesn't involve the Oasis at all, but rather Wade's clever execution of a scheme in the real world, made all the more tense because he's forced to rely on his own person rather than an avatar in a simulated environment. I have to say, that was probably my favorite sequence of the movie as well. This is my own personal parenthetical. This is the same principle by which the best Black Mirror episodes, your Sen, Junipero, and Be Right Backs, ground their futuristic tech in the people who use and experience it. Without giving anything away, the Sen Junipero comparison is particularly unflattering to RP2. Sci-fi stories are far more interesting when they explore the societal effects of a given piece of technology rather than merely marvel at the technology itself. RP2 lacks this sort of relatable grounding. Klein packs almost all of the sequel into the Oasis, so much so that he adds a new plot mechanism that prevents the characters from taking breaks and visiting the real world. So while he thoroughly explores the implications of new technological advancements in the simulation, the real world ripples are far less developed. In one particularly unsettling paragraph, Wade notes that his company has supplied the government with police robots, which boost safety because, quote, their programming and their operational failsafes prevented them from harming anyone in the line of duty. Yet at other points in the story, such tech is easily compromised, and Wade himself notes his fears of robots rebelling against their creators. Quote, probably because I'd seen too many robot uprising movies, he says.
Mm-hmm.
The tension between those two strands, and between the book's broader utopian view of technology and dystopian view of the actual world, goes unaddressed. Elsewhere, the narration edges towards societal commentary, only to veer away before actually arriving at a profound conclusion. Wade's company, and the protagonist himself, steals consumers' data and spies on their homes, builds and controls its own police force, simultaneously attacks its critics while lying to its entire user base, and all this malfeasance is curiously forgotten once the plot gets going and the quest begins. Global warming and income inequality are concerns, right up until a planet devoted to John Hughes' filmography needs exploring, and then never again. Klein's long-running problems with writing well-rounded female characters persists as well. And if any reader is searching for a nuanced look at a society overcome by nostalgia, unable to create new cultural touchstones of its own, the tricky balance of embracing the past and forging a different future, well, this isn't that kind of story. Only once does a character question the value of, quote, picking through the wreckage of a past generation's nostalgia, and his argument's ignored because he's a villain. This limited focus also harms character development. The first book employs varied pacing. Wade solves some clues instantaneously, but others take him months to decipher. Time passes as he works on his quests and carries on relationships. He changes as a person from start to finish. RP2 quests effectively come with a short countdown clock, meaning the main characters must condense all of their growth into a single half-day. The effect is a 366-page novel that feels uncomfortably like a speedrun of its own plot, so concerned with reaching arbitrary goals that it doesn't bother to survey the world in the meantime. But the world's the reason to consume the story in the first place. The first book had its issues, but it still was a fun romp because of the imagination in its creation. Here that imagination is largely recycled and lacking the sort of necessary familiar footholds readers of any fantasy or sci-fi story need when entering a fictional realm. That staleness, that's S-T-A-L-E, might not stop another adaptation. The RP1 movie, directed by Steven Spielberg, grossed $583 million at the worldwide box office, which placed it just behind a Harry Potter movie and a Marvel movie on the 2018 leaderboard. Klein has said he consulted with Spielberg while crafting the sequel and thanks the director in the acknowledgement section. Much like this story, Hollywood loves pre-existing IP and Hollywood loves a sequel, so a Ready Player 2 movie announcement would seem imminent. But at that point, the story might resemble a copy of a copy of a copy, each successive entry degrading the sharpness and clarity that defined the first. A successful sequel can't work as a mere rehash of its predecessor. It needs freshness and an expansion of the fictional world with new challenges and characters. Given its relationship to old movies, the Ready Player verse should know this better than anyone.
I will say I had those fears from, like I said, from the prologue. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. It just seems like something that I'll have fun reading. That being said, I don't want to give him the credit up front, but that sounds almost intentional as a reference and a reference and a reference to be doing a speed run and to be doing like the choppy sequel and to be doing what seems like a port of another game. Like I don't know, it's kind of funny. It could be that was the intention, and it is just a piece, like an art piece. Like I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying the fact that they were able to break it down that way, to not question that that's the intention, it seems like is maybe a miss.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing either way. I'm just saying that there's a chance, based on how deep the references go, that it in itself is a reference.
Yeah, I get it. That's sort of... it's almost trying to strike that nearly impossible balance of 22 Jump Street.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they reference the joke throughout. Mm-hmm. It's not every joke they make, but they do it plenty where it's like, okay, we're breaking the fourth wall to tell you, guys, we get it. This is intentional.
Yeah, and if you moved across the street.
Yeah, if you don't do that, yeah, because sometimes it's explicit, sometimes it's a little bit more implicit. When you don't have that level of explicitness, which is dangerous in its own self, because it kind of becomes corny when you're that level of fourth wall breaking. It's
right.
Some of what doesn't work in the Deadpool movies, especially the sequel, is that that's a tough act to follow. Like, it's tough to execute right the first time, and then to do it a second time, poking fun at the first time, which is poking fun at another thing, that chain becomes very tenuous.
Yeah.
And so
I agree.
That's, I think, why you find that the things are so explicit in 22 Jump Street and Deadpool 2 that I still feel like they should have... it's such a failing that they didn't call it the untitled Deadpool sequel. Like, because that in and of itself is the meta joke that you need to have to show that we're having fun at our own expense in addition to everything else.
Right.
And this is me at arm's length, not having read the book at all.
Sure.
Feels like there's not what's happening in this. Like,
that's totally fair. And I would say that, like, I don't, after reading it, I don't know that I would even feel that were the case. I'm just saying that would be pretty interesting if that were the point. And like, to read criticism of the work, like let's say you're him and that was the idea, to read criticism of the work in this way, you'd probably get a nice chuckle out of it. Like,
sure. I just don't like that as a commercial and artistic venture.
I don't think I do either.
Yeah, it feels like that's a slap in the face.
Let's be very clear.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you exist because of the goodwill of your fans, so don't slap them in the face. And just based on what I've seen, I obviously didn't read the first book, but I saw the first movie. We enjoyed together, if enjoyed is the right word, nerd porn auteur.
Nope.
Was that in a holiday episode?
That was an Easter episode.
Was that an Easter episode? I can remember if it was that or if it was Honey Who Do Stuff that was in the Easter episode.
No, that I'm pretty sure was unfortunately something that I had to endure in this office by myself.
Okay. Because they were around the same time.
Actually, that might have been an Easter thing too. I don't even know. I don't even know.
But I just don't know if that person is clever enough to actually do the meta joke of this is the speed run commentary on the nature of sequels.
Right. I don't know either. I think it's something worth considering. And like I said, I'm not saying that I would like that. I just think it's an interesting notion.
It's certainly an interesting thing to consider.
While they'll most likely, based on the success, I assume there'll be a second film. The changes that were made to the first film were great. It worked really well on screen, and I assume that they'll probably do something similar, similar changes if they do a second one. I really did enjoy Armada, and I'm hoping that becomes a movie one day, because that book is made for the screen. Like, it's basically, it encapsulates the best parts of Independence Day and those types of movies and obviously reference filled as usual, but like that would be fun to see adapted as well. I really enjoyed Armada, but I'm looking forward to getting into this one, just because I am fully aware of what they're trying to do with the book. And like you said, your weaponized nostalgia, I'm aware of it. I acknowledge it. I accept it.
See, that's my take on this sort of thing. I feel like I've, at this point, pretty well explained that over the course of the run of the show. But for our new Chinese listeners, I just want to say, if you go into this...
They're not new. They're our fan base.
I just say new because all of a sudden our listenership has skyrocketed, and it's a couple months after that specific episode when we did the Wandering Earth. So, regardless, if you, and that's anyone, you, not just you, Anthony, it's you, anyone. If you are enjoying a piece of work with both eyes open, if you know what it is and are appreciating it for what it is, I have no issues. Because having that knowledge, you have the proper context for what it is and where it is in the world. The problem is, I find, and this is maybe not totally fair of me, this is kind of anecdotal, I find that tends to not be the case for the majority of people, where people will engage with a piece of work like these two books or whatever, totally at the surface value, and hold it up as something that it isn't. It's the same type of, like if you love reality television, it's not on the equivalent of like great pieces of work of television, like just throw out something like a Breaking Bad or whatever. But if you know, like, no, this is garbage, I just need garbage right now, by all means, eat the garbage.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's what's making you happy, just don't tell me it's prime rib.
Sure.
Like, if that's what you want, and you know that's what it is, we have no issues. You please enjoy it to your heart's content. I want you to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally fair.
Which isn't to call this garbage. I'm just like, you know, like, reality.
No, I know. I follow you, and I for the most part, I agree with that. Enjoy what you enjoy, as long as it's not at the expense of others. That's all.
Yeah,
that's my general stance.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a corollary to what I'm saying, but yeah. I mean, like, my whole thing is enjoy what you are enjoying. Just be sure that you know what it is that you're engaging with. You know what I mean? Like, just make sure that you understand what the thing is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Fair. What's your news?
Oh, okay.
That didn't upset me so much. I thought it was going to be. It sounded like it was going to be worse news than that.
Well, I figured just based on like the kind of the context, but I also kind of figured you would know that because like I already said, you know what the first one was, so. Like, we're on the same page.
To be clear, I probably would have been done with the second one had it not been for where we're at this week. So I'll be done with it before the year's out, most likely, if I'm able to actually sit down with it for like twice.
Okay, so my this is from a few days ago. This is on Collider. I don't know if this was the original story or not. But it was the most.
Oh, this game! I hate this game.
It was the
Where did this story come from?
It was the highest level of credibility of story, so I went with that one. That's generally when I can't find the first. I find the highest level of credibility. Not that this is like deep in the weeds or anything like that. Just like in the sense of like it's probably closest to the source. So if not, it'll reference the direct work. For this, so this was on Collider. Alex Garland working on a low budget horror movie set in the UK.
I heard this too.
Okay. The director has abandoned his idea for a TV series about the ineffectual state of protests following the powerful events of this summer. Now that the fans have had a chance to catch up with Alex Garland's sci-fi series devs, the British filmmaker is prepping his next feature, and I'm already excited. Oh, there you go. It was the original story was on Empire. Empire reports that Garland wrote and will direct a low-budget horror movie that will be set in the UK. There's no title yet, and Garland is still lining up financing, but he's hoping to start production this coming spring or summer, depending on cast availability. I wrote a low-budget horror movie set in the UK. I don't know if it's unrealistic or not. always at this particular moment, a film always feels unrealistic, but then somehow it works out. Garland is the acclaimed screenwriter behind Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later and Sunshine, as well as Dread and Never Let Me Go. He made his directorial debut with 2014 thriller Ex Machina, starring Domhnall Gleeson, Alicia Vikander, and Oscar Isaac, before moving on to the sci-fi horror movie Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman and Isaac. The Oscar-nominated writer has been planning a new TV series about the ineffectual and surface-level state of protests in recent years, but that idea went out the window following the events of the summer, when millions of people around the world took to the streets in support of Black Lives Matter following the death of George Floyd. At some point, with civil disobedience, you have to start smashing stuff up. So I was writing about the need to smash stuff up. But once he saw the palpable anger that was alive in the streets of both major cities and small towns, he felt there was no need for the series, which could have featured several actors from Dev. So this is what we had heard originally from when Time Dev was, that he was planning on writing another show and that they were all going to come back and work together on that show. Mm-hmm. So this is what I was saying, good news, bad news.
That's a really, that's an emotionally mature move, I feel.
Oh, for sure. To be able to see this thing like, oh, wow, I was writing this thing and I was wrong.
Yeah.
So the bad news is it seems like that whole idea of running back that cast together on a new show is dead, at least for now. There's nothing to say they couldn't revisit in a couple of years, but the good news is he's working on a movie.
Yeah, take it.
I thought, so now that...
we can go see that movie in a movie theater eventually when it comes out. Yeah. You, me, and other guy.
That other guy. We gotta find that guy and watch the movie. Which is
Hey, movie guy.
Hey, it's that one guy.
Also... come back with us and go on the show, because we got to know about you.
Wow, can you imagine having money guesses? So I thought, so now what I'm writing is pointless. In a good way. I almost felt glad, weirdly. That's when Garland decided to pivot to the new horror movie. And then this is just kind of more like editorial stuff from the person who wrote the thing. But that was the key details there. He's doing a movie, and it'll come out sometime in the next year or 3, pending availability of like vaccines and the world not ending.
Sure, that tracks. Awesome, yeah, I'll take that. Come back from. I think I'm going to need more lighthearted things though when we come back to the movies before I dive into that. So that it seems like there might be like a 6 month to a year buffer before that is what hits my face.
Hey, listen, we know that there are a bunch of movies that exist that we will be able to watch, and like. We're going to get some Marvel stuff in there.
I just want to go to the movies for a week straight. Like, you just sit there and just watch everything.
I need to bring back Movie Pass just for that.
Oh, man.
Did you see that thing I sent in the Slack? Was it last week or the other day about Movie Pass?
I saw that something popped up with a mention of it. What was it about?
Oh, it had to do with, it was kind of like a final postmortem on Movie Pass and like what, like someone was just kind of like ruminating on like the idea of, hey guys, remember that thing that it was like, the stupidest business decision of like the stupidest business model of all time, but the most amazing customer like centric thing ever, and how ultimately it wasn't ever about us being able to see as many movies as possible. It was about trying to get together a ton of movie data to sell to movie studios to find out what people wanted to watch and how they use that data to make the movie gaudy.
Amazing. Oh my god. That I love that we had like a 10 episode stretch where it would feel like that was when we were seeing a movie a week.
The weekly Movie Pass update. Hey, it worked.
Did it
this
work?
Week.
Yeah, that's it. That was it. Oh man, that was really funny. I was so weary about that because I think it was like debit cardy, where I think like it had to be linked to your actual checking account, which is not the best situation.
No.
Especially with a fly-by-night operation such as...
Literally. The first time that's been a truly accurate statement since that phrase was coined like 150 years ago.
It's like, oh, but on this week's episode, MoviePass doesn't work. Also, my identity was stolen.
Yeah, I unfortunately I never got to make use of MoviePass. I know you and Mike. Hey, Mike. I know you and Mike loved MoviePass. You guys were also in, like places where it was super viable. Where
that's right. Yeah, my theater accepted it. So
yeah.
That was a big move. That was a big thing for me. Yeah. But I appreciate Cinemark's movie club. What do they call this? I appreciate that a little bit more. It's more realistic.
I don't know.
But Cool. You have any other news and nuggets, or shall we get into some fun and games?
I think that's it. Other than I'm sitting next to the pool table we just got.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Solid. We played way too much pool last night. So
Awesome. Well, with that, let's get into some news and nuggets. I've got 2 entries into news and nuggets this week.
You said news and nuggets, fun and games, right?
Yeah, I did. Fun and games, not news and nuggets. I've got 2 entries into fun and games this week. That's why I was confused. There's usually only one thing for fun and games. Let's go with that. This first one is this thing I came across that's it was from BuzzFeed, 32 random as all heck movie. This is the title, so bear with me. 32 random as all heck movie quotes people still use in everyday conversations. I was like, I'll bite.
Yeah, I figured it was the title because you would never say random as all heck.
That's right. That's fair. That's fair. And also I was like, I have a love-hate relationship. There's some funny things with BuzzFeed, but at the end of the day, it's like Ready Player One. I know what you want. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a thing with the most pointless and like kitschy, like clickbait articles, and also deep penetrating journalism and BuzzFeed News, which I'll never understand how those two things.
Whatever. So we're gonna go through these, and the reason why is I opened it up and I started scrolling through it this morning, and I only got like maybe halfway through the list, and I was like, oh, let me do this with Al because it'll be more fun. Because I was like, yes. Definitely not. Nobody uses that. Nobody ever says that. Nobody said that. Nobody even remembers that from that movie. So there's a lot of that.
Is this because we played the movie quote drinking game for your sister's birthday?
Basically. So the first one, should we do it that way? Should I say the quote and you can tell me what movie it's from, and then we can discuss whether or not it is actually used?
Yeah, we might as well. So wait, are they like holding out that all of these quotes are like quotable in everyday life type of thing?
They are random as heck movie quotes people still use in everyday conversations.
Yeah, so they're doing that like thing where it's like, like people still do like the Borat, like my wife, like, and like all
yes,
like
exactly.
All of those sorts of things. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first we have, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
That's from one of the Rush Hours, the first one.
Yes, that is correct.
That is one that people use.
That's fair. I would also agree with that.
Probably less now, but like definitely probably 10 years.
Yeah. Number 2, am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
That is from Master of Disguise. I'm ashamed to admit that I know that.
Yep.
I have heard that quote used, so other people have seen that movie.
Really? Okay.
I mean, not many times.
Used today in everyday conversation?
Certainly not every day. I have heard it referenced before.
Strike it from the list.
That one I don't.
No, I'm striking that one from the list. I disagree. It should not be on the list. We should. We're gonna take the ones off that shouldn't be here. Number 3, Peachy Keen Jelly Bean.
That's from a movie.
Yeah. I have the same reaction.
I've heard my mom say Peachy Keen. I don't know what it's from.
That makes sense. I've said this phrase numerous times. It's from Grease.
I've seen that movie many times. I don't recall that line.
I can confirm that it is used in everyday conversation. I can't confirm that it's from Greece. You're doing it, Peter.
That's from Hook.
That is from Hook. Will you allow it?
No.
Yeah. In time, you'll die, and I'll come to your funeral in a red dress.
I have no idea.
That is from Moonstruck, 1987, and it is not used in any conversation.
No, and I would know because that's like my parents' favorite movie, and so if it was used in conversation, I would have heard it.
That's right. That's too damn bad.
That seems overly generic, but okay.
That does seem overly generic. To claim that that's from Holes seems wrong. That is from everyday conversation and was used in the movie Holes.
Yes, that's again putting the cart before the horse.
That's right. This one I can confirm: potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. 100%. I say that on a weekly basis.
I've said that so many times, and I have heard other people say it as well. It's from Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, and that's it.
That's actually hilarious.
That's from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
That's right.
And I know because I didn't see that line, I was watching a clip from that whole scene with Chris Evans, and I think that we established, right? That was the moment where Chris Evans finally turned for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Can you do a grind?
Agree that's used in everyday... I feel like that's used in everyday life, but it's not because it was in the movie.
That may be true. Yeah. If I ever use it, though, I can assure you it's from the movie.
Sure. These sweatpants are all that fits me right now.
The only thing sweatpants that really I can think of right now is Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but that's not from that.
No, this is from Mean Girls, and it is used a lot in like memes and stuff like that. I don't think I've actually heard people say it out loud though.
Yeah, no, okay, I'll allow that one. Yeah, that's when she's trying to get them fat with those weird Swedish like
the
bars.
Hate, double hate, loathe entirely.
Well, giving the delivery definitely helped. That was the Carrie Grinch, right?
That's correct. Can confirmed. Used in everyday conversation.
I don't know that I've ever heard it used in conversation, but I wouldn't rule it out as being a possibility.
This is number 11 and should probably be number 1, and that's Hold On to Your Butts. Which I'm pretty sure 2 jobs ago we had a built-in Slack emoji that was
holding onto your butt.
That was him with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Didn't you guys also emoji one of your coworkers?
I mean, I'm emojied face palming. So there's that. There's so much room for activities.
Step Brothers, that 100% is used. And like 400 other lines from that movie.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
That sounds familiar, but I'm having trouble placing it.
That's Deadpool 2.
Okay.
I feel like we don't say that specifically, but the spirit of it is used.
Yes.
A lot. Especially when we say, do better. It's Christmas, and we're all in misery.
That is obviously from Christmas Vacation. I was watching that the other day. I used that line at dinner last night.
Okay, all right. I have a big head and little arms, and I don't think this plan was very well thought out.
I don't know.
That's from Meet the Robinsons. Don't really know why it's on this list. Doubt that anybody ever says that.
I never saw the movie, so...
Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. They just don't.
That one sounds familiar, but I don't know.
That's from Legally Blonde. That's a really silly line. I like that one.
Okay. I don't know if that's an everyday conversation one, though.
It's not. Oh, look, another glorious morning. Makes me sick.
Is that Hocus Pocus?
That is Hocus Pocus. I'll allow that one.
Yes. I think I have heard someone use that line before.
You gave me a fright.
Also seems kind of generic, but I don't...
Very generic. They're claiming that this is from The Parent Trap, and while I agree, because I've seen that movie a lot.
It's been a while, but I have seen it many times.
I don't know that that's used. Good one, Goyle.
From Harry Potter?
And the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes.
To be very specific.
And no, I've never heard anyone use that. Like, good
People
one,
don't say that.
Sure. Good one,
right.
Goyle, no.
You're Killing Me, Smalls. Maybe that should probably be number 2 on the list.
Yeah, that's a very common one.
Yeah. Did you hear that? They don't even have dental.
Oh, I know that. What is that from? What is that from? I don't remember.
Shrek 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Another movie I've seen many times and not for many years.
Once you know what you like, well, there you are.
I don't know.
That's from Moana.
I never saw it.
Insightful, not used.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Great line coming up. You're tacky and I hate you.
Oh. School of Rock?
School of Rock, yes. Should be used more.
Yes, I have heard it used, not used super frequently.
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's Event Horizon, and it's not said. If you wanted to replace that with where we're going, we don't need for us.
Yeah, that one, eminently more quotable and recognizable.
Yeah. When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Well, what is that from?
That's from Coming to America.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Not said in any conversation.
No, why?
But a great line.
It's
not a tumor.
Kindergarten Cop. Oh, by the way, I
yeah.
keep forgetting to mention this to you. And by I say keep forgetting, I mean in the last 14 hours. You need to listen to this week's Cinephobe because it's on The Last Action Hero.
Oh, fantastic! Now you see that evil will always triumph because good is dumb.
Yeah, I love Spaceballs. I've used other lines from that movie, but not that one. Nor have I ever heard
that's a good one. I would like to remember that one.
Yes.
This one is great. This one made me chuckle. I've never said it. I want to start saying it. I don't think you'll get this one because I'm not certain you've seen the movie. But that must be Nigel with the brie.
No, I don't think I know that one.
It's from 10 Things I Hate About You.
No, I never saw it.
The context is kind of funny. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Is that Willy Wonka by way of William Shakespeare?
No, that's The Witch and false. Never said. Nobody ever says that.
No.
By all means, move at a glacial pace. That's, you know what that's from?
I don't know what that's from.
The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, I never saw all of that.
Ah, yeah, it's a good movie. That's funny. I like that line. Another one that I'd like to incorporate. This one's great. I would say this if I remembered where the brother's from. My brother came all the way out here from Scottsdale, Arizona, and you're not going to sing for him? And we can we can confirm that number 32, maybe this should actually be number 1, because not only is it said in Everyday Conversation, we've said it in Everyday Conversation, we've brought it up recently on the show. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays off for him.
Yeah, that one and many others with Hardcore have also been used pretty frequently in conversation.
Agreed. All right. Well, that was fun. That was just a random thing. But I do have a more traditional fun and game for you. However, the browser just crashed, and I need to open it again.
We are having a lot of technical difficulties today.
Oh, what do you know? This one's from BuzzFeed as well. BuzzFeed, we know what you are. I think that's what we're going to have to do every time we use it.
I don't like that. It reminds me of Succession when they have this whole thing about there's a scandal involving people, the company listening in on people's private conversations and like through their computer or phone or whatever, and they're obviously not supposed to be doing that. And at the same time, they were trying to come up with a slogan about how they were reaching out to their customers to be more customer friendly. And the slogan was, "We hear you." And
nice.
And they're like, we can't use this slogan anymore because there's a scandal involving us listening in on private conversations. And so they're trying to, like, oh shit, we already, like, okayed the slogan. They're like, I don't think we can come up with a new one. Is there a way for us to tweak it? And it was like, they're like, how about we're here for you? They're like, no, it's too much of a change. They're like, how about this? We here for you. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my god. Alright, well this fun and games is titled, Which Boogie Nights character is your kindred spirit?
Oh.
So, Al, first up, pick a place to have sex. In a theater, on a yacht, in a jacuzzi, at a club, Disneyland, on a beach, on a bed, on a plane. I would not do it on a beach. I would not do it. It doesn't matter. I just want love.
I mean, a bed is a pretty great place to have sex.
Alright, so we'll select that one. Pick a vintage porn film. Wild Horses, The Penetration of El Rio, Unnatural Phenomenon, and Amazing Orgasms, Robin Head, Blue Vanities, James Band Contra O Sex 69.
Oh, nice.
Cockfights, Gayracula, Filet of Breast.
I am not familiar with any of these, so I'm going to go with Robin Head.
That was pretty great. Pick a donut. We've got a chocolate glaze with sprinkles. We have a French cruller. We have a purple glaze. I don't know what flavor that is. We have a traditional donut. We got a jelly filled. We have a strawberry glaze. We have a marble glazed, an apple fritter.
Let's go with the marble glazed.
So it's the prettiest one. That was it. That was the whole quiz. All right. Well, you got Buck Swope. All you want to do is fit in and live a happy life. You have dreams, and you'll do anything to fulfill them. You're not asking for much, just enough to keep you and your loved ones happy. While you're a good person deep down, you're not afraid to go to dark places to get what you want. It's all about love.
Now, I have a question. Do all of these lead to being Buck because he's the only character that does anything involving donuts in the fucking movie?
That's a great question. Should I go through it again?
Well, it's only 2 questions.
That's a great question. That's a good point. I'm going to pick Disneyland. The cockfights.
Oh, sorry, 3 questions.
The apple fritter. Oh boy, you got Rahad Jackson.
Who's that?
You're one crazy ass mofo. That is all.
Who is Rahad Jackson?
That is Alfred Molina. That is it.
Alfred Molina.
Doctor.
He was in this movie.
Yes, he was.
Why do I not remember him being in this movie?
Silver bathrobe, open, red underwear, Russian roulette.
Okay, so here's the thing about that scene. I was watching that like an hour before we started recording.
Uh-huh.
I was here in the basement. My dad and my brother were playing pool behind me, and so they had all the lights on in the basement. And I couldn't tell that was Alfred Molina.
Okay.
And I was like, that guy's got to be someone because of just the nature of movie making.
Yeah.
But I can't tell.
We're like, it's a late stage introduction of a character who's going to be on screen for 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, it's somebody big.
I was like, this has got to be someone, but I don't recognize him behind that ridiculous mop of hair. Not that I should be judging anyone's hair at the moment. And that ridiculous mustache. But through the haze of like watching a projection screen on fully lit basement of an older movie, and he's like super manic in that scene, I had no idea that was Alfred Molina.
That's fair. Well, with fun and games behind us and Alfred Molina in the bag, let us get into our flick of the week. Boogie Nights, released in 1997, rated R, with a 2-hour and 35-minute runtime. Your IMDb synopsis. Back when sex was safe, pleasure was a business, and business was booming. An idealistic porn producer aspires to elevate his craft to an art when he discovers a hot young talent. Al, why don't you kick us off with your tweet length review?
Hot young talent. Sorry. A fascinating, compelling, and terribly sad look at incredibly unique people at an incredibly unique time. Dark, grimy, drug-fueled, and yet hopeful? 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, nice. All right. That's I like that. A late 70s, early 80s period piece that goes balls deep into a taboo industry with an unexpected level of character depth and development. Rest in peace, Donut Guy. 8 out of 10.
I'm sorry that I booed the middle of your... it needed to be done.
It's okay. It absolutely did. I'd honestly be upset if you didn't.
I don't mean to disrespect the sanctity of the tweet length review, but boo.
I gotta say, going in, I knew of the movie. I had zero context.
I mean, I knew it was about porn.
I didn't even know that.
Okay, no, I knew that part of it. I knew it was about porn in the 70s.
Okay.
So I had more context than you, I guess.
Sure.
I want to start doing a thing that we've done very inconsistently.
Sure.
Super easy thing to do. Nominated for 3 Oscars. Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Burt Reynolds. Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Julianne Moore. Best Writing, Screenplay written directly for the screen, Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's right.
Nice, simple little thing. I just want to start doing that from now on.
I agree. Yeah, let's. We can get those in there for sure.
I feel like we're a little bit unfocused in regards to that, because sometimes it comes out like, wasn't this person nominated for an Oscar? What
kind of awards is this sucker up for? Granted, there's going to be plenty of movies that we do that are up for nothing.
Sure, but the point is, when it is, I just want to, like, it's a very simple I and T to dot. It can be my responsibility. I don't mind doing it every time.
Oh, that's great.
In this case. I
like that.
Realized I don't know what made me think about it somewhat recently, where I was just like, we could be doing that better.
yeah, for sure. I will say that this dovetails nicely into my first note. Nominated writer, you said, correct?
Yeah, I don't think he won for any of those. It just said nomination.
Nominated writer, Paul Thomas Anderson. If this movie did anything, it made me hate Phantom Thread more.
It's funny you say that, because I have a very important note on that as well, that we might as well get pre-spoilers, because... No, continue with your thought and then I'll do mine, so...
Okay, yeah. The idea being that this movie is good. Like, it's well written. The characters are well defined.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at, and the funny thing was, this is a long movie, so I think it was 2 hours, 45 minutes runtime.
2:35, yeah.
Or 2:35, sorry, it was 2:45 on my recording, so yeah, that makes sense. A couple minutes before and after.
Yeah.
After about 45 minutes, I said, "Oh, this is why people think Paul Thomas Anderson's a good movie maker." Because, like,
because this is a well-structured movie with great development and every single character has depth and an entire storyline behind.
So I have a little blurb I'm going to read to you that I kind of just off the cuff came up with, let's call it about, 3 hours ago when I had just recently finished the movie. I had watched all but the last half hour of it up until now. I can't relate to an irascible prick of a savant dressmaker, and I can't hardly tell what's going on in Inherent Vice. But a bunch of people trying to make their way in the world and grabbing a little corner for themselves, a bunch of outcasts with their triumphs and failures bonding into a fucked up family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to possess a 13-inch cock to relate to that.
That's a great point.
And I always say that because that was at the very end when he's reading his lines for Brocklanders. But while watching this movie and juxtaposing it against Inherent Vice and Phantom Thread, the only other movies of his that I've seen, I put it in my tweet and review. It was compelling. I'm not in porn. I never will be. I am thoroughly mediocre in that department. And so, and I'm fine with that. Like, it is what it is. The thing about being average is most people are like that. And so, like, I'm good. And I don't aspire to the lifestyle, even if I could.
Yeah.
And I'll never live that. I've never done way too much cocaine. And I never will. So, but I can understand the human struggles in the quiet moments between that. And I can see people dealing with their personal and professional problems, even if my professional problem isn't how do I get this erection right now. I can understand being really good at something and then struggling with the thing that you used to be good at and how that can torture your entire psyche that affects other parts of your life. Those are real human things.
Well, that was the thing, right? They were all dealing with regular old issues, but you were layering that on top of a very strange lifestyle where they can't relate to anybody but the group that they're with.
And that's really good writing.
Yeah. It is. It's great.
It's what makes me so frustrated with the people who were listen, you want to appreciate some of the nitty-gritty filmmaking stuff about Phantom Thread, be my guest. I'm not qualified to have that conversation. But I can talk about script, and I could talk about plot, and I could talk about character, and those things are lacking in the two other movies I mentioned. I haven't seen all of them. I'd still really like to see The Master. I've always been interested by that one.
Sure.
But The Phantom Thread, talk about being more niche. Listen, 70s porn star is as niche as you can go, and yet somehow 50s British dressmaker is even more so. And when you take the one singular character who is the greatest in the world, knows he's the greatest in the world, will tell you at all turns he's the greatest in the world, and then is just a prick at all times. That's not interesting. That's not compelling. That's not relatable in any way to any person. This is a person so separate from reality in all phases that it requires, spoiler alert, his love interest to poison him to cut him down a notch. And for him to say, I am so incapable of self-regulating that I require you to periodically poison me to bring me back to Earth. That is so beyond unrelatable as to be totally ineffable. There are no words to describe how far from reality.
Yeah. You're vocalizing the things that I couldn't, but everything that I feel about that movie. Because I was Madeline Kahn in Clue watching that movie. I just flames on the side of my face, heaving.
and honestly, I watched the movie. I was really intrigued by Inherent Vice. I watched it. I still know what the fuck it was about.
I never saw it.
I have no idea. It's the structure of the movie is so odd. And I've watched Memento. I've watched Cloud Atlas. I've watched Mr. Nobody. I've watched a million other movies that play around with structure and time and all of that sort of stuff, and fucking the devil all the time, and all those things, The Witcher, whatever. And I don't have a problem following along, and I could not follow that movie.
Oh, it was okay. It was gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I think it makes me feel even better. It makes me also feel I feel even more validated in my hatred for the Phantom Thread and the fact that I could see a movie that he did that I do think is very good and be like, that other one is garbage, right? Like, it is garbage.
No, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, we talked about it at the time, right? Like, the 3 leads or the 2.5 leads, the performances were great. Well, because his sister was technically kind of like, so
she had like 10 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, so the performances were great, and like that's fine. So it's why I'm not going to be like, oh, it's the most garbage. Like, there is value to be mined from it, even if the movie's not for me. And that was what I said.
They were great. They were good performances with garbage material.
Yeah, I mean, like the lines were well written, but like the actual crafting of the movie itself, like there's nothing enjoyable about it. Like there's nothing to speak to wanting to come back and watch it again. Like there's nothing, nothing like that. It feels like needs to be critically interrogated. And honestly,
hate it. I hate it so much.
No, like I said. I'm sure there's someone who's like been to film school or made movies who can point out things and like that's just above my pay grade. Like I can admit that my failings of that, but as far as watching a movie and talking about a movie, there's not a lot to talk about with that. This movie and maybe it benefits from widening its scope to like more of an ensemble. Like obviously it's about Mark Wahlberg's character Dirk, right? Like. But we get a lot of time spent with the other characters, some more than others, and none of them are one note. All of them feel like human beings.
Yes. That's so okay. So here's my favorite part about this. The movie does play with structure a bit without actually doing it. And that way that
it plays with structure but doesn't play with content.
It hints at Dirk Diggler's Mark Wahlberg, Eddie, whatever, being the main character by the way that it's structured as far like from the beginning of the movie, right?
And total screen time.
And total screen time. But it's almost to check that box of like, yeah, okay, if we have to put it on paper, the movie's about this guy that's going through this thing. But like you said, we give all the other characters so much time and depth, and they're well written, they're so well performed that like they're more interesting than him.
Yes. He is by far the least interesting character until the final act of the movie.
And I feel it's almost funny. It's like he's the character that's on screen to get the movie greenlit because everything else is what it seems like is what he wanted to do.
Well, it's a funny thing where it's not often that your lead is a plot device.
Yeah,
but he is, which again is a credit to Paul Thomas Anderson. And I'm just wondering, what happened?
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about a few weeks ago when we were doing, or a couple months ago, I guess now, when we were doing Glengarry Glen Ross, when we were trying to figure out at what point Al Pacino became whatever he is now. And I'm still struggling to pinpoint the moment in time. And so without having the full benefit of seeing
at what point did he is that
hearing it described that way will never not get me.
Oh man.
Just like it's confusing to me. Because now I got to like go back and look because I'm aware of like a handful of his movies. I obviously have only seen 3 of them.
Right.
I'm so confused as to what made him be this.
Mm-hmm.
That he's made the last couple of movies he's made.
Yeah. Another point of this though, like. As far as the structure, we talked about earlier with our Ready Player 2 reading, the idea of making something to be the thing that you're talking about or that other people then describe it as. And like, that's kind of what I love about this movie. So we have Jack who has an appreciation for the art form of film, but he's in this adult pornography business. And he wants to make basically like the next great film, but via porn.
Yeah.
Right?
Also,
wants to make a good
one of the great names in all of porn history. Because as good as Dirk Diggler is, Jack Horner is better.
Yeah, agreed. But so he's making the idea of this character like wants to make the next best film, the next best porn film, not just a porn movie or porn tape. He wants to make a porn film. And that's what this movie is. It's the reverse. It's like he used a film to make a porn versus using a porn to make a film.
To make a porn?
A porn, yeah.
That was, again, this is like the third time now I'm doing this, where wasn't that was a Family Guy joke as well, where they found out Lois did porn when she was younger.
Yes.
And the priest condemns her and says, for making a porn, she goes, is that right? Make a porn? Because you always say porn like as its own thing, or a porno.
Yeah.
No one says a porn. She's like, wait,
I just did. Oh man, that's great. But no, you see what I'm saying though? Like, and then I was reading a little bit about this, and like, well, I don't know how true it was because I couldn't find like the source of the of where this information was pulled from. But the idea that he wanted to make the movie, Paul Thomas Anderson, he wanted to make it over 3 hours, and he wanted it to be rated NC-17, and he couldn't get that to happen with the producers behind it.
Yeah, because you don't get the funding for that, you're not going to get the box office.
He had to settle for either the rating or the length.
Feels like he settled on neither.
No, exactly. So it ended up going with the R rating and taking that as the challenge, but it still came in under 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. She's like, get out of your own ass. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe
what someone said no.
Maybe that's why it was good. Yeah, it's like someone was like, you can't, like somebody reined him in a little bit. Maybe somebody should have reined him in.
Can we get this same person to rein in Tarantino just to be like 80% less feet?
80% less feet.
You just need someone to say no occasionally, but
80% of the movie is shot ankles up.
Sorry, I wanted to.
That's going to be our new tagline: Flix and his ankles up.
I wanted to get back to Jack Horner for a second because he was an interesting character. Being the porn visionary. Like, I'm sure this is a thing, right? Like in other, the person who's caught up in not where he wants to be, and he not just wants to make the most of it, but he wants to transcend it in a way. Like I feel like I'm really failing here because I know that's like such an archetype in other mediums, and I can't like come up with a compelling example of it. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that, because he cut across the grain of all of the stereotypes. Like, sure, there was like the drugs and the sex, and yeah, great, whatever. But like, he didn't feel like a super pervy dude, and I'm sure that's not a fair. Like, I'm sure there are great people in porn. I don't know any of them. I don't know of any of them, but I'm sure there's people who aren't super weird or skeevy in any way, shape, or form. That's probably an unfair stereotype to some extent, right? But he's like a deeply like caring and compassionate person. Ultimately, it feels like very fatherly, but also is going to watch his children fuck. Right. Like, that's a thing that's happening. And even like specifically manipulate them too, which I guess you require auditioning. We've heard of the casting couch and all. There's a literal couch in which he casts Dirk Diggler in this movie.
Right.
Which I guess that breaks convention as well. The 70s, what a time.
What a concept.
But this guy was a pioneer, and I'm just going to throw this out here and just going to have to engage with it in whatever level you want to. But
sure.
Did Burt Reynolds invent Bang Bus?
I don't know what you mean.
When they have the scene where they're in the limo and they're going to pick up a random person and cast them in a porno in that moment.
Oh my God. It's funny for you to say that when it ends up being one of the most intense and emotional scenes of the movie.
Oh, sure. What happens after that, we could definitely talk about. In like a real sense, and obviously I'm doing this as a joke, but I'm watching that.
Not Jack Horner, not the writers. Burt Reynolds invented it. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Paul Thomas Anderson didn't invent this. Burt Reynolds invented Bang Bus. I'm standing by this. Someone find me chronologically something that happened before that to prove that that's a thing. It probably exists. I don't want to hear about it though.
Do they then have to prove that Burt Reynolds wrote that scene?
I don't care. Burt Reynolds invented Bang Bus. Listen, Burt Reynolds Did he win a Heisman in real life? He played college football. He was a quarterback of fucking Florida State.
Yeah.
He was an iconic movie star, and he invented Bangless.
Dude, God, what a set of accolades. You know what blew me away? And this is, I was watching and I was like, I don't think I know Burt Reynolds from anything where he was playing a serious role, because I feel like I've only seen him in like one-off comedy, like set pieces in movies, not actually seen him in something specifically. And man, he's a good actor.
Yeah, he is. This is kind of like, it feels like what we talked about with The Untouchables with Sean Connery, where it's like, why didn't he do more of that?
Yeah. And maybe he did, and I'm just not aware of it.
I feel like if he did, you would be aware of it. Like, he was
maybe, I don't know.
Smokey the Bandit and Gator and all that shit. Like, he wasn't doing a lot of highbrow stuff.
Yeah, like, oh man, but he really is great in this movie. Like, he's very believable in the role that he's playing. And like you said, to be able to portray that character of like, how did he come across as not like this sleazy guy? I mean, like,
some of the stuff he does is sleazy, but I think that's just kind of what happens when you're in like the sway of doing and making porn, and yet he still stands well. I mean, hell, look at his producer, whatever that guy's name was,
the Colonel.
The Colonel, that's it.
I think that helps you figure out like that he is the good guy.
Yeah,
is like putting him like on the other side of the glass of the Colonel.
Yeah, and by the way, like letting him test who he is in that moment too, because he can't say the words. Like, he's like, "Oh, I can't go that far."
Can I point? All right, so there's a thing that I do. This is what I realized. Basically, when this happens while I'm watching a movie, it usually gets somewhere within the 7 to 10 range, usually between the 8 to 10 range for my score. And that is when there's a scene in the movie that makes me say out loud, "That's a great scene." and when
there's a few of them in this movie.
When he's pulling the phone away from his ear and they cut the sound from the other side of the glass, I went, "That's a great scene."
It was.
and this movie's an 8.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I might have even been able to go slightly higher on my grade. The thing was, I did experience it as kind of a roller coaster, because like the first 45 minutes or so, it's a really like fun movie. Like, everyone's having the time of their fucking life, and like, that's not gonna last. It's
of course.
And so like it gets really dark, and then you start to wonder, oh god, how dark is this gonna get? And it's getting worse and worse. It's like, have we reached rock bottom yet? No, we have not, sir. No, we have not. And I'm like,
oh, no, we have not. And just to make sure that you know that, they put like a title card up at one point that basically says it's about to get so much worse.
Yeah.
I forgot what it said exactly, but I was like, I turned to Kim and I was like, wait, were there any other cards like that throughout the rest of the movie? And the answer is no.
There was one other card, but not like that. Because like it was before the card where I was like, how much darker is this gonna get? And then the card
it got like real shitty, and you went, ooh, and then they said on screen, buckle up.
Yeah. Straight up hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
So like during the depths of that, I'm like, depending on where this goes in the next half hour or so, I don't know if this is a movie I can watch again, because it's gonna be like that depressing to me. Because like I felt some of that stuff, like watching the fall of like Amber's character and how she brings Dirk down with him, and watching the total fucking tailspin that sends him on, and all that stuff, and just watching her totally implode around like the stuff with her child. Like, it's like, yikes. And this is after, spoiler alert, little Bill had a double homicide suicide. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
You know what's crazy about that? You know what? Spoilers here on out. The movie was released in 97. And I think maybe another thing that we should probably go into, I don't like that when we talk about the movies up front, we feel like we need to draw a hard line of like where we're going to talk about the spoilers. If you're in the movie section, I think we should I think it's clear that we're going to be doing spoilers. I think we should do that from now on. It's basically just spoilers. If you have something to say up front, we can say it. but we shouldn't have to beat around the bush. We're just having a conversation about the movie.
How about this?
Come in here having seen the movie
say,
is basically what I'm getting.
How about this is the new policy? We will be spoiler-free until at least both of us have given our tweet-length review and our grade.
That's right.
And then from then on, all bets are off.
That's right. Okay, and we'll do the prompt. We'll prompt forever that it's going to happen. But just to be clear, that we're not going to try to talk about the movie up front. I feel like it's just kind of annoying because I feel like you have to.
Well, I'm saying if someone's interested and want to hear our grade, and that's going to determine whether they want to sit down and watch the movie before they listen to the rest of it.
Yeah,
they'll have had the information that they need. I try and write all my tweet length reviews to not be spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. All right, so that being said, we're in spoiler territory. So, yeah, the double murder-suicide. What's amazing about that scene, though, is
that it didn't happen any of the other times before that?
No, it's the way that it unfolds, right? When he opens the door and looks in and then walks out and closes the door behind him and then walks outside, I knew where the whole scene was going. Without knowing that he has a gun in the car, without knowing how they're going to play it, I knew where it was going.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because he's done this like 5 times already.
And the way they this is the writing, the direction, the camera work, and specifically the tremendous acting by everybody in the movie.
I mean, William H. Macy is a great actor. Like, I mean, I get that he's a character actor. He's always going to be a supporting actor, all that, but like, he's a really good actor.
Yeah, and that's the whole story on his face. In that scene, like that was just, and that awkward like smile laugh before he does it to himself, like that was heavy.
Yeah,
that's a crazy scene.
Yes,
really well done.
Also, like, just while we're on the topic of like putting a bow on his whole. Well, first of all,
yeah,
like watching how like sad and pathetic he is as like a person is like it honestly it hurts, right? It's like because. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. There's never like an idea that maybe like he's any sort of like abusive or neglectful in his life where like someone would want to do that to him.
No, he's just being taken advantage of, it seems.
Totally taken advantage of for I'm not entirely sure what reason. But also, when he's on set, he's competent and confident.
Yeah.
He's a real integral part of making those movies. Like,
right.
like he even like takes charge when he has to, like, you know, doing his stuff. Like, he's not doing that whole wishy-washy thing of, you know, oh geez, you know, it's time for you to get on set. Oh, okay, if you're not, no, he's doing his thing. Like, he's just in it. He's working, and then and this is again what I'm saying about this whole ensemble. Like, this character could have been totally one note. He could have been on set the same way he was in his relationship. He's not. He's a real human being who has got work under control and can't get his life under control.
That's right. I like. It's interesting that you say that he's like how good he is at his job. Is the only difference between him and Jack that Jack can compartmentalize?
Probably.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, they're two sides of the same coin.
Right, like Jack has like the vision, but like if something happened to Jack and for the day they needed to shoot and Little Bill was in charge, it would have been fine, right? Like, he would have totally handled whatever needed to be done for the day. And to see all of that, like I said, thrown up against just how utterly incompetent and incapable and lacking in confidence he was in his life is such a poignant little look at like one of the least important characters. And like, honestly, like maybe you could say that that's kind of the death of the like quote unquote innocence of the group at large. Like, that symbolizes like the tipping point for where it goes.
That closes Act 1, doesn't it?
Yeah. So like maybe like there's kind of something symbolic in that, because nothing directly happens because of that in a negative way. It just kind of casts a pall over.
It was a bookmark, though. It was
what's
like
going to happen, like what's to come. I also find it like kind of a footnote to this whole story, just because I went through some interesting stuff with the cast of this movie, because I knew obviously Mark Wahlberg, Burt Reynolds were in this movie. I did not know that Don Cheadle or Philip Seymour Hoffman or even Julianne Moore were in this movie. So like I kind of went into this like somewhat lacking in context. I had forgotten but did know that John C. Reilly was in this movie, but still.
Oh my God.
Like seeing him on screen, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, he's in this. I forgot about that. You know, but meanwhile, like 90 seconds later, I'm like, wait, Philip Seymour Hoffman's in this?
Yeah. Yeah. when I noticed him from afar when he's on the other side of the fence before he comes full frame for the first time, and I was like, "Is that?" And then when he did, I was like, "Oh my god!"
But I was looking through like all like the people in this, like names I knew, names I didn't know, and I found out that Little Bill's wife is a porn star in real life.
Oh my god! Great, that's fantastic.
It's funny that a character who was never. I mean, I guess we could assume probably that she was one in the movie. We never see her outside of the context of being his wife, but just considering like how cavalier she's fucking everyone in sight, including in front of a group of people in the middle of the lawn, that she probably is one. And considering he works in porn, like it seems very likely that she would have married. He would have like been involved with the porn star, I guess. Like that's how he would have met her. I just found myself curious. I was like, wow. She's probably the least attractive of all the women in all of this. She's not doing any of the actual porn scenes in the movie. It's like, I'm not familiar with any of her work, nor do I want to be.
Circling back for 2 quick seconds on 2 characters that you brought up. One, Scotty, and only because one of the intro things that I had for you was fucking idiot, and I was going to say it over and over again, but I don't think I could do it justice, so I didn't do that.
Too dark.
And then the other one is John C. Reilly. We always have a section. I have a section in my notes for each movie that says favorite moments and least favorite moments. John C. Reilly as a magician is my favorite moment of movies. There's a scene where he's got the box and he spins it around and he takes the swords and he clangs them together awkwardly and then puts them on the floor and waves his hands. I'm just like, this is great.
Job's character in Arrested Development.
Oh my god, it's got to be right. It has to be. But that was great. Also, I love how awkward. Like the movie starts off. The whole first act of the movie is super awkward in it's almost like a storyline in a bad porno. Like that's like what in a porn, right? Like and like especially with the two Eddie and with John C. Reilly and Eddie and Reed talking to each other. Yeah. It's almost flirtatious and awkward, like it's about to go somewhere the whole time.
Also, it's clearly like workshopping what John C. Reilly is going to do with Will Ferrell in Step Brothers when they first meet in the lawn. Like it's almost the same scene.
All right. Yeah, that's oh my god, that's exactly what it is. Did they steal that from there?
Well, in this case, it's more obvious the literal like progression from one to the other. Also, when I first saw him in that scene, I was like, oh my god, John C. Reilly is so skinny.
Yeah. There's something about him though with his iconic voice, especially when he gets a little bit riled up, that I can't take him seriously only because I find him so funny.
And
I laugh when he's being serious.
Like, the comedic relief often, but still he gets his moments of like being like more dramatic in this. Like he's not just doing the goofy ridiculousness.
Right, but it does kind of break the immersion of it in the Molina scene, specifically because when he yells, I can't help but laugh. Because it's a goofy yell when he's scared.
Well, again, I can see shades of Dale in the scene when they're both, or at least Dirk is super high, but I think they're both high with the recording studio when they're arguing with the music producer about the rights to making the stuff.
Oh my god!
I was like, again, this feels like workshopping Dale.
When they're arguing at the okay, do you know who that is?
No,
the guy that won't give them the tape. Mm-hmm. It's Robert Downey Sr.
Oh, I saw him in the cast,
and I was like,
who it was.
I refuse to believe that that's a person.
No, I knew
there was only a junior.
He was an actor. I knew that he was in this movie, but I kind of never clicked that was.
I didn't know. I've never seen him in anything, or I don't remember him from anything, and it was still. It was for whatever reason, it was mind bending.
I've never seen him in anything. I know that he was in like acting. Like I don't know anything about his career, but like I said, I was scrolling through the cast list, and I did see his name in there. And I meant to like follow up into who actually is he in this movie? Like what other things has he done? I just never got to it, but like I do remember seeing that in there. Like I knew he was in this. Yeah.
The another character that again throwaway, right? Like honestly, like they could have gone through the entire movie without having him in it because he doesn't push the plot in any way. He's just there for things that happen, but I'm so glad he's there because he's fantastic on screen. It's Luis Guzman, and his character is great. It's so silly.
Well, even just
And
something is like, again, we keep coming back to like the quality of this script. When you consider the world building, actually, I'd even like Levy. Like we talked about the difference between focusing on like I said, 2.5 characters in the fandom thread versus an ensemble here. I honestly, and you said like nominally following Dirk, but it's really about this group of people. It's not even about that. It's about the whole.
It's like the lifestyle or the.
It's about just that time, those types of people in that type of place at that time. Like it's the whole setting is the main character of the movie, and so the world building is like preeminently important in all of this, and some of it is super explicit and a lot of it is implicit, but it's done in a real like it's like your own mileage. It's this the type of thing where like if you can handle it watching this movie over again, you're going to notice more things and probably also help to maybe have lived in that time. Like I'm sure an older audience would engage with this differently than you and I who were born. Like I was born with this movie starting in 77 or something like that. Like I was born 13 years after this movie is supposed to be taking place. So I really don't have any functional like concept of it from the perspective of I've never engaged with it myself. It's a stupid little thing that I just like it checked the box for me where like I was like when I noticed it, I was like I like that. Yeah. He says early on, I just really want to be in one of your movies. And then he's just in one of his movies as a bartender. Yeah. He's not fucking anyone. He's just a bartender in the movie. And that's all he wanted was to just be a part of what they're doing.
Yeah, because he did have his own thing. He was a good club. Like he was running the club that he didn't own in the beginning to the point where he ends up owning a club, which I thought was a great scene. And again, completely throwaway. Doesn't even need to be there, but it's almost endearing. But him and his two, I think he said they were his brothers.
Yes,
when they opened the club,
brothers.
And they pull the thing down. Oh no, it's a Q!
It's supposed to be a G! Which also reminded me, going back to Arrested Development, of Tobias is Queen Mary.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But how important is that character and that club and how these people engage with that people in that place? Like to that whole setting. And again, it reaffirms what I'm saying about how I feel like the whole setting is actually the star of this movie. Mm-hmm. It would be missing an integral part of the tapestry if he and that club were not a part of it. And to know that he can't just disappear, that he is part of the fabric of what's going on. He's now a part of their movie. He's at their parties. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not just some guy, some hanger-on. He is a part of their group, even though he doesn't fuck anyone on camera. Like it doesn't matter, but it still matters entirely.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's probably worth going through the entire cast list. Amber Waves, which the first time that the name like Amber, I understood they were saying that the whole time until I saw it on the screen when she was making the documentary, the Ziegler documentary. When it said Amber Waves, I went, "Oh my god!" Like it didn't register until that point that was her name.
I think it would have worked better for me if she was blonde. Mm. Just to like capture the whole essence of being the amber waves of green. Like what I mean? Like she's got red hair. Like she should be blonde. I feel like some sort of dirty blonde, whatever.
Amber.
Yeah, isn't amber yellow?
Isn't it? It's like a reddish yellow, isn't it? Isn't it more on the warm side?
Maybe, but the point is yellow I still feel like is the base of that. Like when you think of wheat, amber waves of grain, you don't think red, you think yellow, brown.
Sure. That's fair.
Not very red.
So you had brought up her character before. That one's heavy, right? That whole storyline.
No, there's fucking layers there.
Yeah, and it's a lot to take in, but I think the best scene is with Amber and Roller Girl for those characters when they're together in the bedroom talking, and she's like, "Can you be my mom? I'm going to ask you if you're my mom," and you say yes. That whole scene, like the way that plays out, I was like, "This is so awkward, so horrible to watch,
So
and also just so
dark.
sad.
It's so dark.
Yeah, it's
but like delivered in a way that's like they're both like smiling and kind of happy, but also on the verge of tears, and it's like,
right.
am I supposed to laugh? Or like,
and the fact that they're
okay
happy,
if I
cry, laughing,
with
snorting
them?
drugs the
Like,
entire time is like exactly how you're supposed to feel.
Yeah, like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
It says that one very simple, stupid conversation it says a lot about both of those characters and the states that they're in. It's also the beginning of, because like to that point, Roller Girls seemed pretty unfazed and unfazable, and that starts to pull down the curtain a little bit to the big blow up scene in the Bang Bus later. And
that's right.
Yeah, because we already knew that Amber was a hot mess, right? Like we knew there's a lot going on there. I don't remember now if that was before or after the scene in the courtroom, but
I think that might have been before.
But we already knew that that's where that was heading.
Yes, 100%.
With Roller Girl, like she's always kind of she's just doing her thing. She's just rollerblading. She's just fucking. She likes it. She seems to genuinely enjoy her work, you know?
Right.
And you know, good for her and all that. And she just really wants to be on her roller skates and do drugs and fuck. And like, everything else is kind of just minutia. She seems nice, right? And it's like, oh wow. So the rollerblades are actually, or roller skates are really, really, really dark look at the fact that you are a child in a grown-up's body. Yeah.
It's interesting because like they do that, right? They make it seem like, oh, she seems to be almost as if she's okay with this lifestyle, that she's in it, she's fine. Puts up a great wall, but when there's one of the little cracks starts to show, then the entire thing starts to crumble, and it makes it that. I think that's what makes it so dark.
Yes.
It's
because like when she's been the vivacious like life of the party and all this, and like she's just like going on and doing her thing, and like why would you ever question it? It's like, okay, these people are all weird. Why wouldn't there be someone who's just in roller skates all the time? It's like, oh no, that is a big defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Big.
Ugh. Oh man, heavy stuff.
And even I was gonna say, even the stuff with Amber, right? Like, I mean, the drugs, way too much drugs. There's the super jaded. We see her like she acts like she's above it all, and it's obvious that she can't get out of it. She's super jaded. There's the whole thing with the kid where it's like, does she care about the kid? Does she not care about the kid? Okay, she gets clean. She cares about the kid. Totally breaks down because there's no chance she's getting the kid back.
But she wasn't clean though.
I thought at that point was because that was. I think you're right. It was after the scene with Roller Girl, and it's after Dirk leaves. So I assumed that she got clean at that point.
I took it more as that I don't think she was clean because she actually looked high in the scene, and I thought that it was more. That I just assumed that was. I don't think she realizes that she's an addict. Oh, see,
the way I read that scene, and I was getting a little tired because that was not terribly long before I turned the movie off because I had to go to bed that night. Like, I read it more as she doesn't realize the mileage it's put on her face. That when she's not done up with makeup to go be on camera, that it's going to show that she's, probably 30 years old, but has the mileage of like a 50-year-old when you consider just all of the porn and drugs and alcohol. So I read it as, well, when I say clean, I mean like she probably hasn't done drugs for a week. You know what I mean? As opposed to every 5 minutes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's funny. I thought in my mind in that moment she was a little high.
She looks rough, but she's not doing all the little druggy ticks that she's been doing the whole movie. She doesn't have the drips. She doesn't have any of that going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I could be wrong. I mean, like, and obviously, like totally justifiable to question whether you would like.
Sure. Either way, not even really it doesn't matter because that's not even the point. It's just the damage is done, and like it's another part. Like they have the darkest stories. Her and Roller Girl,
and also, but still, I find the most interesting and compelling scene involving her was the scene when her and Dirk worked together for the first time. because you see this person who's clearly drugged out, clearly super jaded, 1,000-yard stare half the time, like feels like she's above it, like it seems like she's trying to be above it all, like couldn't care less.
Mm-hmm.
And her working with him for like, 30 seconds totally takes down all of her defenses.
Yeah.
Because she went from the consummate pro to like she's in it in the moment. And I was like, that's a weird like juxtaposition to see there.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, the movie's got layers. It's like an onion.
Because it feels like in that scene it's supposed to be showing off the prowess of Dirk.
Right.
But again, this is where I say he's a plot device, not a character, because it's really to reveal her own vulnerability.
Exactly.
It really had nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
But then to see that then come back around later when she, like, how did he stay above the fray for those many years? Like, was it 5 years before he finally does any drugs? And she like professes her love to him, which to me almost kind of caught me off guard because like you see the seeds of it in that scene, but like years have gone by and they've never really, on a personal level, gotten to that stage. And all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I full blown love like you. I didn't think I could do that anymore. I didn't think I could do love like as a person. Mm-hmm. And you've brought that out in me. Please let me ruin your life with drugs.
Yeah, right here, do this
and I was
twice right now.
I was like, no, if you love him, realize that he's been above the fray this whole time. I don't know how, but he has. Why would you do this to him?
Yeah, I think it had something to do with him being like he was young and naive, and all it took was somebody to put it in his face. It just so happens that nobody specifically gave it to him before that moment.
Sure, but it was just so easily and readily available and like so pervasive that you would have thought at some point, like you would honestly, it would have been surprised to me if he was just standing there and someone just went with cocaine in his face. And,
right.
I mean, like,
I feel like I could see that happening in What We Do in the Shadows.
That's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like, oh, okay, I guess I just do cocaine now. And like, that, yeah, great, man, do cocaine with us. Okay, I will, you know, like.
You want to do some coke, man? No. Yeah.
No, wait, no. Always remember how that question is phrased. Hey, you want to do a lot of coke?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah. Like, hey, you want to do a lot of coke? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Also, by the way, on the just the idea of coke and all that, I want
coke as a concept.
No, I want. I'm not going to be greedy.
Okay.
I want 1/8 of the confidence of that girl when she shows up at the party, screaming out loud, "Is there coke at this party?"
That's right.
The level of confidence in that girl. Hey, is there cocaine here?
Yeah.
Screaming it at like, I don't know, 1 p.m.
Yeah.
In the outdoors, like in front of this party, like if I had I just want 1/8 the confidence. Do you know how
there was it was in that scene that I was like, what was the law at the time? Like I was like, was it? Yeah, one of the rules. Like I was like, was it coke? Like was there a point where coke was just frowned upon? Like what is that?
In time in that area with those types of people, it feels like it. Yeah.
Right? That's what I was getting at. That scene, the way that unfolds with her ODing in the room and them being so like...
You know what? You want to again, like, pointing to a scene where it's like, that's a great scene. The scene in the bedroom. That's a great scene.
It is a great scene. That almost... It was reminiscent of the apathy in a gangster flick. When somebody's been, like, shot and is laying on the floor and they're just having a conversation around the person.
Yes.
You know, like in Goodfellas when Spider's killed.
Okay.
Like, and they're just kind of like they're somebody's annoyed, somebody's talking about it, they're still just having a conversation while this person is dead on the floor. And it's like
another person's freaking out over them. But even that, it gets grounded again because he says, "Oh my god, this is the second time this week that's happened." He goes, "This is the second time this week that's happened. Do you think that maybe you might want to get some better stuff?"
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, where it's like, it's now gone from this is a mere inconvenience to, hey, wake the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, no, that is a. You're right. That's a great scene. That is the scene. I'm pretty sure. Isn't that the one that leads into seeing Scotty for the first time? They're walking him out, and he's the one that's holding. He's opening the gate. I think.
Yeah, maybe. I think so.
And that's when I went. Is that was the scene with the long hair? And I was like, what is happening right here? Um, Don Cheadle, Buck Swope,
Yes.
my favorite character in the movie.
Really? Okay.
I think so. I love him. He's just going through his own little identity crisis. He doesn't know who he is. He's trying to figure it out. He thinks he knows, but people are kind of talking him out of it. He's trying to do something. He wants to do it. People that he's close to are questioning him, and he's just kind of lost. And it's sad. And then he finds this person that just likes him.
Mm-hmm.
For who he is, and he turns around, and it's so good. I just love he's the most wholesome character in the entire movie.
Although he does sell out at the end.
Sure, but I feel like it's just for the ad.
Also, I mean,
He deserved that money.
Should he take the money though?
Well, honestly, the bank should have given him the money. That money's on the bank. I'm sorry.
Well, hang on a second. You want to talk about the plot twist of all plot twists?
Yeah.
Talk about the early 80s in California.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're going to the bank. And I'm like, oh, so this is going to be the thing where it's like, yeah, no, you're black. We're not getting like, we're going to find ways to not come out and say it, but like, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And the bank's like, oh, black? No, that's fine. But poor, no.
Yeah.
No.
I do love the line. Stop saying I'm in porn. Like he's like yelling it in the bank.
Yeah, that's other people that you're not in porn. Quite like screaming, I'm not in porn.
Yeah, another reason why I love his character. When he's talking about the TK421 amplifier, and all I can think about is why you're not at your post.
I heard that scene too, and I was like, "That's so perfect." Which again, it is. That's why the number like 1977 stuck in my mind. I was like, "That's the year Star Wars came out."
Mm.
Is he doing that because it's obviously he's BSing when he's selling those speakers in that opening scene? Is he doing that because that sounds official, but it's something he heard in Star Wars?
Great question. I do think that it might actually be a thing.
I mean, listen, could there be at any point like a combination of letters and numbers that are the same? Sure, it could be. What I'm saying is it's obvious he's BSing most of that spiel there, so it seems like not just a reference to Star Wars, but I think an implicit nod to the fact that part of his shtick is that sounded like the model of a stereo system. So I'm going to say it because it's going to come off the tongue naturally because I love Star Wars, and I'm going to say it, and they're going to be like really impressed by that.
Yeah. That is kind of funny. I don't know. I am kind of curious which way it went because there's also the other side of that is that it was a thing that was in his head when he wrote that line in for the code in Star Wars of like that person's character. So that's I don't know. Either way, it's great. Whichever side of it that we're on, find it very silly. He took the money. I like that whole scene is super intense, right?
It's totally ridiculous. It's like completely surreal.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of tension scenes in The Shining, like that type of horror movie. Like the way that they do the rise of the music and the pulling in of the camera on the characters. Like there's something. It's like it makes you feel boxed in when you're watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they amped it up in that scene. Like, I like that during the entire portion of the movie where everything's falling apart, title card included. When we're like, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. They did it tapped into multiple genres. I feel like, and that was one of them. Like that, like horror movie-esque, like the thriller movie, just like pure drama, like as we're doing the close up on the girl's face as she's crying or she's tearing up. She doesn't. I don't think she actually fully cries, Roller Girl, during that scene. Her eyes well up, but I thought that was interesting too because it seems like she's still holding on, which is fascinating. But the scene that really put me over the edge, where I just thought like my blood pressure was going through the roof, was the Alfred Molina scene, where they, aside from, first off, the music is really loud intentionally.
Yeah,
the characters need to shout so that you can hear them. And the firecrackers going off were giving me a level of anxiety that I did not know that I could experience.
Which is the point, right? Because the whole thing is they're super on edge, they're high, everyone else is high. And we're going to just keep intentionally at, like, not even in a rhythmic way, like kind of like a totally dissonant way. There's going to be a sound that sounds like a gunshot in this scene where everyone is afraid it's going to end in gunshots.
Right.
And who's going to get shot because they hear the firecracker and think it's a gun?
Yeah.
Which doesn't even end up being what happens.
Oh my god. It's that whole thing. That was crazy. And you know it's going somewhere. You know it's not going to end well. I also like the idea of, it's funny, like...
Which also, by the way, in this scene, we also get more on top of the ensemble, Ving Rhames and Tom Jane.
Tom Jane's, yes.
Was that not Ving Rhames? Because it sounded an awful lot like him.
I don't think so. I honestly don't think do you ever really see his face? Or do you see it for a split second?
Maybe, again, I was watching that in very poor lighting.
Yeah,
I thought that was him.
I don't think so.
The first, like, when he's first on it, his looking through the window and you can't even see his face, and I heard his voice and I assumed that was him.
No, I don't think it's him.
Oh, I thought it... Because you're right, I never got a good look at his face. I just heard him and I thought that was him.
Gotcha.
Based on, like, purely on voice.
He, so in that's Tom's Jane, though, for a moment on him. From the moment that he enters the set for the first time, when he comes on screen,
you know he's bad news.
Yeah, like this is the character that's going to tank everything, and it's not even him; it's more his mustache. Like, his mustache is going to bring us all down. But I don't know, that whole thing was pretty crazy. I saw it from the moment that he's having that conversation with John C. Reilly, and he's just being a total tool bag. And I'm like, oh god, this guy is bad news. And like he gets in with the crowd, and like then they like just to prove the point, they go through the whole quick cut of him running out, getting drugs, bringing them back, running out, getting drugs, bringing them back. I was like, oh god, they're making it so much worse in 4 minutes. That was wild. Anyway, he met his demise with a shotgun blast to the belly.
Yeah. Well, again, this came down to lighting. Did he get shot in the head to start that off or not?
No, he got shot in the arm.
Okay. I couldn't see. It looked like the way he jerked. I thought he got like shot in like the ear or something like that.
No. He gets shot in like the shoulder, and then he runs in and kicks the door open. And when he goes to kick the door open, you know what's next. You know that there's somebody on the other side about to shoot him, and it's a shotgun blast to the belly.
Yes. No, that part I saw.
Yeah.
Also, what a terrible plan. No, I got a plan, guys. I kind of wanted to know what was in his safe. Was it just the money? Like, why did he know the safe was specifically under his bed?
Yeah, it sounded like it was just a lot of money.
That was weird. Because the way it sounded like there was maybe something specific, like money and also something specific. And like maybe we were going to see what that was, but no, we didn't.
Yeah. Running that scene's super intense. Running out and like the shooting at the car and the car rolling down the hill and trying to get into it. Like the intensity of the scene never dies down until we move on to the next scene. Like until we leave that entire set piece.
Also, poor Reed. Where did he walk to? Like, how did he get home?
I don't know. He walked to the Magician's Academy.
Also, I mean, I guess we could talk about it at this point. What a weirdly positive ending to this fucked up movie, like with a lot of fucked up people.
100% agree.
I mean,
Prodigal Son returns, and then we do this whole embrace situation. That was a good scene too. I want to say, Mark Wahlberg is Mark Wahlberg, right? I don't think he's that great of an actor. I enjoy watching him in things. I think he's a fun actor to watch. I don't think he's a great actor.
I mean, this role probably tested him more than most, and he did well enough.
That being said, though, that scene, I need help. Can you help me? That whole thing at the end, like, he nailed that.
Well, so there was a scene you were going to bring it for, like, that was the one.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then that embrace. Ooh. I was like, oh, we're gonna do this? We're gonna end okay?
Which actually, honestly, kind of was even second to for like as far as Burt Reynolds, right, where his character, where Jack is like again showing like the kind of compassion and care that you don't expect from him. The scene when Dirk first blows up and storms off set, like like he's like he gets to anger eventually, but he genuinely cares for Dirk in the moment where he's like, "You're in no state to shoot." Like it's not anger, it's not ego, it's you're not okay.
You're not okay, and you're completely strung out right now.
Yeah, and it's like, you expect in that moment for him to be like, the show must go on. And he's like, fuck it, man, we'll wait till tomorrow. Like, please sleep.
Yeah. Oh, man. I have one more note here that I want to go into from favorite moments that I had. I pulled a quote that I'd like to read to you.
Okay.
From the movie. Yeah? Favorite moment. What can you expect when you're on top? It's like Napoleon. When he was the king, people were just constantly trying to conquer him, in the Roman Empire. So it's like history repeating itself all over again.
Some of those things, especially, yeah, like that was from the documentary, right?
Yeah.
Some of those things were just breathtaking.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed his little monologue at the end, which was where I got the whole 13-inch cock thing from. But my favorite scene from the movie was when just like, again, the whole surreal thing of how he like goes down where he's like, you're going to have to show me that you can do this when he's auditioning him at the first thing. And he goes, would you like to have sex with her? Yeah. Yeah, I would. And she rolls over. So are we going to have sex now?
Yeah.
Please. He goes, okay. And he goes, so how do you want to do this? And she just jumps him.
Yeah.
And then they start playing I've Got a Brand New Pair of Roller Skates.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
It's a good scene.
And he's just watching. Like, he doesn't look like he's getting off. He's truly admiring the artistic moment that he is somehow, like, painted this masterpiece. Which, by the way, started with him whispering in her ear, go suck his dick.
Yeah. And in that scene, are you going to take your skates off? I don't take my skates off.
Yeah. It's one way to live, but...
when you know what, the time that took me by surprise was like, oh yeah, she was roller skating the first time we see her in the club, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, I wonder, are the other waitresses
that's
doing
what
that
I
also?
assumed too. Like, that seems totally par for the course for that sort of weird place.
I didn't even think about it further until she's in school taking the test, and she rollerblade storms out, and I went, oh dear God.
Also, again, like, kind of thinking of, like, just, like, I don't know why, just him, like seeing Burt Reynolds playing this very soft version of himself, right? When he first meets Eddie, I guess, at that point, and he says, I think this might be the last line he says in that scene, I forget, where he goes, I have a feeling you have something very special in there to show.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
There were some great. I loved those really direct lines. I thought they were actually really funny because in their execution, it's like there's no scenario where you can say this outside of porn, right? So, but they managed to do it into in a real movie. What was it when the Colonel was like? So they say something along the lines of, I hear you have a nice cock. It's like I'd very much like to see it.
That's a Colonel, right?
Will you show it to me now? Yes. Thank you.
Nothing was nothing sexual about what you would think would be an incredibly sexual moment. Just, thank you.
Yeah, if this was a cartoon, like dollar signs would have popped up on his eyeballs. Oh man. Anyway, I think this qualifies as a movie that is far better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, I guess. Probably. That's weird to think about. I don't know.
Plot point. Like, you give the title of the movie, you read that IMDb synopsis, you tell me 2 hours and 35 minutes. There's no way in hell I think this is going to be a good movie.
Also, I gotta say, was Boogie Nights the name of the club? I don't even remember.
I don't know.
Like, where did that come from? Like, no one says it. Like, I never got, like the Knights never seemed particularly impressed. Like important, honestly. Most of it takes place during the day.
I'm not sure.
Was that the name of Luis Guzman's club at the beginning? I don't even remember.
It might have been, but I can't say with certainty.
Like, I feel like we should know that.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, any other notes on this film before we move on?
No, I think I'm good.
Tapped out? Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@thespintune.com or tweet us @thespintune. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out. Man to watch. We have 2 episodes.
Yes.
That we need to discuss. 2 very big episodes.
Yes.
We take 1 week off and 2 incredible episodes drop.
Well, they finally answered our prayers and gave us some meaty leading man parts. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Whoa.
Still stuck on Arrested Development, Tobias, and all that. We had Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers in Arrested Development. We're stuck on some real meaty plot development, character development stuff. There's big stuff in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, there was.
Well, I really enjoyed episodes. If we go back to the one before that with him meeting the other Mandalorians.
Yeah. I think what was cool. So first off, I really enjoyed that finding out that not Jedi, but the one before that was directed by Carl Weathers.
Yes.
Bringing him back, bringing other characters back that I didn't expect to, like the guy that we freeze in the carbonite.
Well, yeah, mainly him.
That was great. That was really fun to and then to keep harping on it. Right? And keep making the jokes of how long his sentence is. And just arbitrarily knocking years off to have him do stuff that really is making no impact on his sentence, at all.
No. Yeah, he owed 360 years or something like that, and it's became
That's right.
345 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, that was really funny. Then of course we got the I forgot what they were called something, but those macaroons. We got the little baby Yoda eating the macaroons, Grogu, if you will, eating his macaroons.
Wait, did we talk about that? No, we didn't because we missed it. You know that's a thing that people that's being sold now, right?
Yes, I think I sent it to you. It was $50 for 12 of them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That being said, if you watch, I don't know if you watch Babish at all on YouTube.
I don't know what that is.
I love all of his stuff, but he did one where he made the macaroons and has an intro where he was talking to Jon Favreau. So that was really cool. And he made them, and then he made a less intense version of it that takes way less time, which I thought I appreciated that. I also say it wrong, which I learned during that. And I forgot exactly how we said it.
It's macaron?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think I tried, and I choked 3 times trying. So I'm just going to accept that I am wrong.
Well, you want to say macaroon, but there's only one O in this word.
Okay, macaron. Did I get it right? Did I do it right?
I mean, it's definitely a lot closer.
All right. Well, anyway, he made those blue guys. Blue guys! And I loved that whole thing of, first off, asking for it, the kid being a dick and not giving him one. Which, I mean, just give the little Grogu one, right? I mean, he's adorable. He speaks no English. He's just sitting
clearly,
there.
I get that they don't know. I guess he's 50 years old, but they don't know that. To their eye, he's clearly 3 years old.
That's right. Give him a snack. And then the idea that he used the Force to grab it, because he doesn't really show the Force that much, but he wanted that, and he took it.
Well, we found that he only uses it when he really wants to.
That's right.
He uses it to get those eggs. He uses it to get those macarons. He used it to save Din.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
And he uses it for that little silver ball that looks like the Death Star.
Yes. Which, again, just the things that he really wants, it's the only time he's going to use it.
That's right.
Because we get season 1 finale, right? We get Grief do the magic hand thing, and he just waves at him.
So good. So good. But I love that whole scene. First off, to mix... skipping ahead towards the end of the episode, because there's something that we need to obviously dive deeper into in the middle. But the end of the episode, with that little flight fight, and the amazing maneuvers that are being pulled in the sky, which I thought was great. To do that flight choreography Yes, while the child is throwing his hands up in the air like he's on a roller coaster, was to keep flipping back and forth between the intensity of the scene and the comedy of that was just so well done.
And then it turns, because
Yeah,
while he's having fun, I'm like, dude, chill, he's gonna throw up.
yeah,
And then you see it turn where he's like, ugh. And
Yeah.
then he finally
and it's like the most adorable little puke,
it's so
which is not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. But we find out that there's this space, this Imperial
facility.
base in a volcano, because let's keep building things around stuff that can explode. Where they are,
Well, at least,
that's where they're
this
making.
one made sense. They were using the energy of the heat from the at least there was a reason to do it. Okay, like you can
That's
say
right,
like
that's right.
risky, like too risky, whatever. But like it
That's how
wasn't
you
just for
make Snokes.
dramatic effect. Like they were making active use of like geothermal vents and all that. Like fair enough.
Yeah, it's the only oven that you can preheat to Snoke. And of which there was like a couple in there, right, that were like in a creepy form that almost resembled what Snoke would eventually look like.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a proto Snoke.
Yeah. I love the question that I have that pops up like when you're in that scene is like, oh, I mean, I know what this looks like, but is that? And then they do the music. I'm like, oh, you clever sons of bitches! Like, I love that I love the musical cues in all things Star Wars.
Yes.
Right? It's like there are
The
people and
music is its
places
own
that have, yeah, and it's so like to hear that like that like that whole thing when they show it. I was like, oh man, just way to tie this all up. This is great. So that was really cool. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't really know where we were going to go.
I mean, I always assumed that there was some form of cloning going on, and that was the point.
Sure.
We discussed it last season, right? Like someone picked out that the badge on his shoulder is of the same as the Geonosis, or not the Geonosis, the Camino cloners. So,
Mhm.
and it made sense because they captured him and they were clearly studying him and all of that, and it looked like they were doing some procedure on him, but we don't know what. And he comes away relatively unscathed. So it's always been clear there was some form of cloning or genetic material being extracted or whatever. So this is an obvious conclusion.
Yeah. So that was cool. Then we have an epic battle and escape from Lava Land, which is really fun.
Yeah, honestly, the best part of it is the three of them in the speeder thing, like getting chased by TIE fighters, way overmatched, and still that was pretty exhilarating.
That was really cool. I just really enjoyed that. It was just a really fun episode, and I was expecting like the way that they set it up is like, oh, are we gonna get Ahsoka in this next episode? And then they do all that, and you're like, oh, we're not. But this is fine. This is totally fine.
Well, if you're not, like, that's the way to keep us happy, right? Like, it's a really good episode in and of its own. We get a little bit more. It's funny, like, how we get passage of timing, and we went from, like, Grief just wants this asset to Grief is, like, begrudgingly to now he's like, are you taking care of this? Is he taking care of you? And, like, now he's, like, proud grandpa, like, come on, little buddy, like,
They all love him so much.
And even Cara, like, is, like her cold, dead heart has been warmed by little girl.
Yeah. So great. So we leave and we move on to our next episode.
Well, hang on.
Where
we leave, we get the classic, we let them escape with the transponder in the ship.
Oh, sure.
Going to be important. And then they leave, right?
It'll be important. Probably, 3 episodes, 4 episodes?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the next one, actually. So
the next one? Okay, that's fair. And then we arrive... before we arrive, we opened... The Jedi episode opened with Ahsoka or Ashoka? Ahsoka slicing through people, right? Like, is that how it started?
Yes.
Or was that like... Okay,
well, it started with her, yes.
Well, that's a cool way to open it up. Be like, we're not gonna beat around the bush. Here, you've waited long enough. And I thought that was really cool. Seeing characters in live action form for the first time is always very exciting.
Yeah, I'm always have a little bit of trepidation. Like, how is this actually going to look? And it should look great.
Fantastic. I was very into it.
And it was nice that they kept the 2 white lightsabers. There's important like story behind all that, and the
choreography was
the
fantastic.
Fighting style, the choreography was great. So
I liked the brutality of it. mixed in a PG setting of like clipping it by putting something in front of the frame, but then showing you the blade go through the thing that is clearly like it's also clearly going through somebody in between the trees, and then the bell at the top was like, oh god, that's so brutal. And dong as it falls down. That was really cool. That whole setting was really cool. I loved the set.
Yes.
We also have, I guess, perfect timing for Dark Fat to come up this episode. We have Kyle Reese.
I didn't recognize him at first.
Yeah.
I mean, he's much older now.
Sure.
My dad actually was the one who recognized him. He's like, is that Michael Biehn? It's like, is that?
It sure is. So that was cool. And this is where we learned the name of the child.
Yes.
Which I was a little underwhelmed with the name, which is fine.
I mean, like, sure, but also, to me, as soon as I heard it, I'm like, I mean, well, what was I expecting? Like, Star Wars...
But that's the thing, right? Where it's like, I don't know what I was expecting, but that wasn't it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. And I heard it was some sort of reference to some Kurosawa movie, which makes sense. It's a
cool
homage to Lucas being a huge Akira Kurosawa fan, but, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. Like, his name neither excites nor upsets me in any way, shape, or form. Like,
it's just a thing.
Like, what is in a name? Like,
I was more upset with the fact that I couldn't remember right away what it was. I kept going back to it. Am I saying it right? Did I hear it right? But it's fine. So we find out his name. We find out that I like the idea of the attachment that he has to Mando, which is really sweet.
Which has been obvious, in like a parent throughout their time.
Mm-hmm. But maybe the best part is that every time Mando said Grogu, he turned up and went, and looked directly at him. Like, he was so excited that he knew his name now. It was so sweet.
Also, it was an interesting way to pay off what they did. I guess it was the beginning of the episode before, where all of a sudden he's kind of taking direction and understanding. And like they start dropping little hints of that. And it's like, well, when did that switch exactly? Because most of the time to now, it seemed like when Din talks to him, he's mostly talking to himself. It's like, the way that you talk to like your dog, where you're more talking out for yourself, not for the dog itself, because they don't understand what you're saying. Because like you're describing complex thoughts, and you're not saying sit or go or whatever. Like you're.
Mm-hmm.
So to see him, he's trying to. I'm like, how is the child understanding him, telling him about the wires? It's like, well, he doesn't ultimately, because he doesn't accomplish what he's trying to accomplish. But like, it's pretty clear that he kind of understands, because he's grabbing the wires that he's telling him to. He's not doing what he wants him to do, but he is grabbing the proper wires, and like is clearly trying to figure it out. And then he starts following some like specific instructions too, not just like yes or no. Like there's more complex thoughts being just like conveyed to him, and he's at least getting the gist of them. But like they kind of don't say or do anything about that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I talked to him through the Force. I'm like, he basically gets all of it. Like, it's like, you little fucker. Like, all this time, you haven't tried to, like, reach back out and, like, meet him halfway. And then, there's not been any sign language or any sort of, like, nod to the fact that you get what's going on exactly. And it's like, no, you get most of it. Like, and
maybe he's just being a playful little dick.
Well, sure. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. And also, I'm sure we're going to get more study into this whole idea of the trauma that he's endured. Which felt almost kind of brushed over, but I think it was more, we have more on that later. It's important for you to know that he's not just a little baby that doesn't know what's going on. Like some of his like infantilization is a defense mechanism. In the same way, like we were talking earlier with like Roller Girl wearing the roller skates as kind of a defense mechanism to what's she can't like deal with in her real life. Like I think some of this, him not speaking and him acting like a child, some of it is real, but some of it is played up, I think, as a defense mechanism against what he has seen and experienced. And I think we'll get more of that later. And I think they didn't want to give us too much in that moment. They want to slow play that a bit.
Yeah. Where do you think this is going?
That's way too open a question.
With Grogu, like, where do you think his impact is on the universe? Like, clearly, it's they were using him to make the clones. It's the clone, like the Snokes. So far, that's what that we've got that, but we're at a time that's in the middle of events that are going to unfold like later. So like, do you have any guesses as like where we're going with that character?
Yes.
What do you?
And I have not read anything online. I imagine that there are many people who've already said this sort of stuff online. I haven't read anything about it because I just haven't had the time to lately. I haven't even read any of the people who I normally like to get like recaps of this stuff, like on The Ringer or Alan Stephen on Rolling Stone or anything like that.
I wish I would have done a little bit more prep work because I enjoy reading that stuff and watching those videos and stuff. But I'm with you, so we're kind of going in blind together. On
well, I'm not going blind because I have the backstory that you don't, at least not the full picture of. So you know of Ahsoka through the Clone Wars and Rebels. When Ahsoka, the big reveal to me in this episode was not that his name was Grogu or that he understands. The big reveal is that she asked the magistrate where Thrawn is.
I was very excited about that.
That's the twist.
Yeah. One thing that I was equally thrilled with the reveal that we're probably going to get him on screen because, again, that's another character that I enjoy and I would love to see the live action version of him.
Which I don't know if we'll get it in this season or not. And that's what I was hinting at a couple weeks ago when we talked was when I said, okay, we're past the trailers now. So what's the big surprise we're going to get? Because nothing that we've had yet has qualified. And I get it's harder the longer you go. But there has to be something they're holding up their sleeve. And if what they're holding up their sleeve is that Lars Mikkelsen has recorded something as Thrawn, that qualifies. Now, they've tipped it off in this case, right? But to get him, to know that he's on the board for us is a big enough reveal. It's not quite the same way, but still.
I will say, though, as excited as I was, I thought it could have been. They gave so much happened in the episode that they actually could have played that one a little closer to the chest for just a little bit longer of her asking where her master is, but not saying the follow up line "Where is Thrawn?" directly to the camera. Like that, that type of a delivery always breaks immersion for me. I don't love that.
Sure,
but maybe some other like reveal in like the next episode or 2 episodes later of who she was actually looking for. In another way.
I think they've played so coy with so many things that they have to choose what we're going to continue to string out and what we're going to give you. And they gave us some stuff, right? But I think people probably would have been furious if they don't get that reveal because we still don't know where he is or what's going on or why he matters to this story. And seeing how and when he shows up in what capacity, that will be its own big reveal. I expect we'll probably get a little thing maybe in the finale, but he will be more of a thing for next season.
Yeah, it seems that will probably be the case.
But even still, though...
That was pretty cool, though.
That, just to say Thrawn is not enough. Where I think this is going is... Well, there's 2 things. One, I wondered if they were going to pay off the Imperial Transponder in this episode, because I wonder if their hunt for Grogu leads them to a more appealing target in Ahsoka to draw genetic material for their clones. If that was going to put her in danger. I doubt we've seen the last of her.
Sure.
And there's another reason for that. She tasks Din and Grogu to go to this Seeing Stone to cast out a broadcast to Jedi to, if he wants to be trained, he can find a master who's willing to train him. There's a lot to that, I think. I think that she is wary of taking on the burden of training him, considering what he's been through and all that, knowing what happened to Anakin. That's valid and fair. I don't think that's the whole story. I think part of why she won't train him is because she has her own quest to find Thrawn.
Right.
But, and this is spoilers for the end of Rebels, and I think we've talked about it in the past. Are you okay with me talking about this?
I probably already know.
Finding Thrawn is a worthy goal, but that's not really what she's doing. She's trying to find Ezra Bridger. She swore to help Sabine Wren find Ezra Bridger. There is a Jedi still out there on the board who can help the side of good. Right. And the only way to find Ezra, if she hasn't found him at this point, is if there has been, whether it's rumors of him or whether the magistrate was his former apprentice, although the timeline wouldn't be super great for that because it's been now probably roughly 10 years since Thrawn's been missing. Finding Thrawn is the way to find Ezra Bridger, whether he is still with Ezra or not, whether he's back to his own devices or whether it's just trying to track him down through any means necessary, no matter how cold the trail would be. I think that this story of Grogu leads to Ezra taking him on as his apprentice.
Okay.
And that could give us a really good explanation as to why the two of them weren't involved in any way, shape, or form with the sequel trilogy, because they could be off who the hell knows where training.
Right.
And so part of me wonders whether Ahsoka is trying to give herself more avenues to find Ezra. Finding the magistrate to try and track down Thrawn is great. Sending Grogu out to put out a call to find Ezra is another avenue to do that.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like you're just right.
So do I.
I like that.
Beat my chest too much. And it's why I want to say, I don't want someone to be like, well, yeah, no, everyone's fucking talking about that. I imagine they are because, honestly, there doesn't seem like any other reason to do Ahsoka finding Thrawn in this season. That has to be where it's going, I imagine. I can't tell you I know all of the ways that this is going to manifest itself exactly, but that would seem to be the case. And to get Ezra and Thrawn, and ultimately that would pull Sabine into this storyline as well, would be a really cool way for the next couple seasons to go.
Yeah, for sure.
And it makes sense on how we're gonna circle back to. There's no way Bo-Katan's story is done in this, and there's no way that Din's involvement with Mandalorians and learning what being a Mandalorian actually means is. And so Sabine is the way that you go back to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I just want to watch more. I'm so excited that it's almost Friday.
Yeah. Also, super cool. This is the first time we got proof that Beskar, true blue Beskar, actually fully blocks lightsaber strikes.
Oh.
We've always known that their armor was their key to defending against Jedi, but I don't know that we've ever seen so explicitly it used as a direct...
just a block of a lightsaber?
Just a straight up block. Not it created a glancing blow, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I put my arm up with my, a vambrace made of Beskar, and I stopped the lightsaber. I grabbed the spear, and I've used it, and it's an equal weapon.
That's cool. Oh man, I've been in feeling the Star Wars vibes lately. I've been wanting to. I want to watch a couple of movies. I do want to get back into Rebels. I've been really wanting to play Fallen Order again.
I do too, but now I feel like I should just wait to play Fallen Order until I can finally maybe get my hands on a new Xbox.
Yeah, because you might as well.
Really want to watch. I really want to play that on the 4K because I definitely, even playing on my brother's TV, I realized how much depth of color I was missing when I was playing last year on it was amazing playing it on the huge projector screen, just from a scope standpoint, but there was I realized I was struggling seeing some of stuff what was going on, just from the contrast of colors, and honestly a lot of the stuff with the lightsaber got lost on me because I couldn't tell the difference between I could tell green and blue and yellow, but some of those colors are indigo and violet and turquoise and all that. I couldn't really tell the difference between some of them.
Yeah.
And then I saw them on another screen, or actually I think I saw one on your screen. It's oh my god, there's way more variety than I realized.
It's so pretty.
And I still haven't gone back and played it all since they did that little update with you can use the red lightsaber and you can wear the suit from the Vision and all that. That's cool stuff too.
Yeah.
So I'd love to dive back into that. It'll now have been almost a year.
Yep.
Well, by the time I get the Xbox, maybe a little bit over a year since I played it.
Fair.
I don't know when that's going to happen because I looked at every store within 30 miles of me and I couldn't find one. So that might not happen until January. Who knows?
Sure.
I didn't think my timeline was going to be that quick. And then all of a sudden, the thing is, once I got the TV, the floodgates open and it's okay, now I want it.
Yeah. I hear you. I get that. And it'll be so worth it when you do. It's so much.
Until I got the TV, it's oh yeah, no, I'll just go get that eventually. And now it's
yeah.
Well, now I want it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, Mandalorian concluded.
Yeah.
Mandalorian concluded. This is the way.